So good evening. So this is the first time I'm taking class, by the way. I'm as scared as you guys, okay? I'll put everything on the table right here. And how many of you are comfortable in Kannada? So pretty much everybody. How many of you are comfortable in English? Just so that I could address everybody. Okay, so I'll keep it bilingual. ನಾನು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಮತ್ತು I'll speak in English as well, all right? So wherever you feel like I'm not clear or if you feel like you want more clarification from me, please feel free to ask. ನಾನು ಏನಾದರೂ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರುವಾಗ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ವಿಚಾರಗಳು ನಿಮಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ನನ್ನನ್ನು ಕೇಳಿ, ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಇರ್ತೀನಿ, ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಉತ್ತರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟೆ ಹೊರಡೋದು ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ, ಓಕೆನಾ? ಓಕೆ. So my name is Thanuj Kumar, so perfect. My name is Thanuj Kumar and I've cleared the UPSC Civil Service examination of 2023 with an All India rank of 973 and I've given 5 attempts and I have failed the first 3 prelims and I cleared the exam only in the 4th attempt. So I've had prelims marks all the way from 70s, 80s and then finally in the attempt that I cleared, I got somewhere around 80s to 90s and now when I wrote it again, I ended up with about, with about 130 to 135. So there was a good jump of improvement there and I can tell you what exactly worked out for me, alright? So before any of it, see, so how many of you have given this exam already? ಮುಂಚೆ ಯಾರಾದರೂ ಬರ್ದಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮು? ಇಲ್ಲ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಅಟೆಂಪ್ಟ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ? ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಅಟೆಂಪ್ಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಎವ್ರಿಬಡಿ ಈಸ್ ಗಿವಿಂಗ್ ದಿಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಅಟೆಂಪ್ಟ್. ನೀವು ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಬಂದಿರಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಕೋಚಿಂಗ್ ಸೇರಿದಾಗ ಯು ಮೈಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಎ ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡೌಟ್ಸ್ ವಿತ್ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟು ಹೌ ಟು ಅಪ್ರೋಚ್ ದಿಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್. ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಡೌಟ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಇರ್ತವೆ ತಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ, ಹೆಂಗಪ್ಪ ಓದೋದು, ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಜನ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ, ಈ ಸಾಗರದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಂಗೆ ನಾವು ಈಜೋದು, ಪಾರು ಮಾಡೋದು ಹೆಂಗೆ ತಟದ ಹತ್ರ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್, ಸೊ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ನಾನು ನಿಮಗೆ ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿದೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಉತ್ತರ ಕೊಡ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಬಟ್ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ವಿ ಜಂಪ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ದ ಕಾಮನ್ ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ದಟ್ ದಿ ಆಸ್ಪಿರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಮೇಕ್, ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ನಾವೇನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಹೋಗೋಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಂಚೆ, ಸೊ ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಟ್ರೈ ಟು ಫಿಗರ್ ಔಟ್ ವಾಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಲ್ ಅಬೌಟ್. ಯಾವ ಥರದ ಸ್ಟೇಜಸ್ ಹಂತಗಳಿರ್ತವೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ಅದರ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಗಳೇನು ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ ಫಸ್ಟು. ನನ್ನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕೂಡ ನಾನು ನಿಮಗೆ ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ಇರ್ತೀನಿ ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿ ರೆಲೆವೆಂಟು ಥ್ರೂ ಔಟ್ ದ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸೀರೀಸ್, ಆಲ್ ರೈಟ್? ಪರ್ಫೆಕ್ಟ್, ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ 2 ದಿನ, ಫಾರ್ ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ 2 days, ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಫೋಕಸಿಂಗ್ ಆನ್. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಐ ಟೆಲ್ ಯು ವಾಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಆರ್ ದ ಸರ್ವಿಸಸ್ ಅಬೌಟ್. ನೀವು ಈ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಮೂಲಕ ಎಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಹೋಗೋಕ್ಕೆ ಅನ್ಸ್ಕೋತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಫೋಕಸ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ we are going to read about what are the common issues that an aspirant faces in this exam. That will be the brain lion chunk of everything that we are going to do here. And then after that, we will have certain misconceptions. ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ತಪ್ಪಾರ್ಥಗಳಿರ್ತವೆ ನಮಗೆ ಸರ್ವಿಸಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ತಪ್ಪಾರ್ಥಗಳಿರ್ತವೆ, some misconceptions that you would have with respect to exams. And generally, while we are having our lifestyle around this exam, what we do is that we just keep on studying. ಬರೀ ಓದ್ತಾನೆ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ. During that time, we ignore all the other aspects of our life. So we'll figure out how we can better manage other aspects of our life and exam. So ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಂಗೆ ನಾವು ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಕೂಡ ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆ ನಾವು ಬೇರೆ ಏನೇನು ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಇರ್ತವೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಹೆಂಗೆ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಂತ ಕಲ್ತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. ಸೊ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಟುಮಾರೋ, ನಾಳೆ I'll be taking 1 whole hour and I can extend that if necessary as to how can we approach prelims of next year. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಮೊದಲನೇ ಹಂತ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಮೇನ್ಸಿಗೆ ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಪ್ರಿಪರೇಷನ್, even if you haven't prepared adequately for mains, how can we better approach and learn the best what the mains is to offer even if you do not clear it. So that will be my focus tomorrow. And lastly, I'll take question and answers. I've just written there, but ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಏನಾದರೂ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿದ್ರೆ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ನನ್ನ ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸಿ. I'll feel free to answer these questions. And same thing goes for online students as well. If you have any queries, just drop it down on the question and I will answer it for you. All right, so now let's get started. So let's learn what is the overview of this service. You have heard, so you are writing some exam called UPSC Civil Services exams. So UPSC stands for Union Public Service Commission. Most of you know it. Nimgalla gottirutte adra bagge. So UPSC, they conduct a lot of exams such as civil services exams. There is something called combined defense services exams where you go to the defense service. There are some very much vast number of exams which civil services conducts and they are the primary recruitment authority of India. So what happens is that the government is going to say, we need top-notch officers to serve India. So how shall we get them? So they contact UPSC and they say that, these are the standards we require for our officers. Please find some people for us. So government, which is the DOPT, Department of Personnel and Training under the central government, they'll ask UPSC that, we need so-and-so officers with so-and-so standards. Please bring them to us. ನಮಗೆ ಅದನ್ನು ದೊರಕಿಸ್ಕೊಡಿ, ಇಂಥ ಆಫೀಸರ್ಸ್ನ ನಮಗೆ ದೊರಕಿಸ್ಕೊಡಿ. So UPSC conducts this exam, civil services exam, to find those officers in you. And your job here is to make sure that you become fit for the civil services exam. That's the only role here. So they conduct the exam and they'll recommend the candidates, all these All India rank peoples. And at the end of it, these people are further being inducted by DOPT. Labasna, there is a training academy for Labasna, where you go once you clear this exam. There you are trained, and then you are brought under the government. So all of that is taken care of by DOPT. All right. So initially you start with UPSC, then you go to DOPT. That's pretty much how this whole overview works. Any questions so far? ಏನಾದರೂ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿದೆ ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ? ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲ? Okay. It's the same slide. Okay. So while you are working in the government, where exactly do you work? ನೀವು ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? So in order to understand that, we need to understand how the government works. I'll give you a broad overview of about 2 to 3 minutes. So basically there are 3 organs of the government. ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟಲ್ಲಿ 3 ಅಂಗಗಳಿರ್ತವೆ. ಒಂದು ಲೆಜಿಸ್ಲೇಚರ್. So these are the people whom you vote for. ಎಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು MLAಗಳು, MPಗಳು, ಇವರೆಲ್ಲ ಲೆಜಿಸ್ಲೇಚರ್. ಇವರೆಲ್ಲ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ? ಲಾನ ಬರೀತಾರೆ, ಪಾಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಲೆಜಿಸ್ಲೇಚರ್. ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟಿವ್ ಏನು ಲಾ ಪಾಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಹೂ ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ದ ಲಾ, ದೇ ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ದ ಲಾ. ಓಕೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಜುಡಿಷಿಯರಿ. ಸೊ ಈ ಲಾ ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆಯೋ ಇಲ್ವೋ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ಜುಡಿಷಿಯರಿ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು. ಈ ಸುಪ್ರೀಂ ಕೋರ್ಟು, ಹೈಕೋರ್ಟು, ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ಸ್ಗಳಿರ್ತಾವಲ್ಲ, ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ಅನ್ಸಿದ್ರೆ ವಾಟ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟು ನಮಗೆ ಸರಿಯಾದ ಕೆಲಸಗಳು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ನೀವು ಜುಡಿಷಿಯರಿಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟು ಲಾ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ದ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಅಪ್ಲೈಯಿಂಗ್ ದ ಲಾ ಅಡಿಕ್ವೇಟ್ಲಿ ಆರ್ ಇನ್ ಅ ಜುಡಿಷಿಯಲ್ ಮ್ಯಾನರ್. ಸೊ ಹಿಯರ್ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ಯು ಅಬೌಟ್ ಲಾ ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟೇಷನ್, ರೈಟ್? This is where you'll be placed. This is where the civil servants come into the picture. So executive ಅಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಥರದ್ದು ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ಒಂದು ಪರ್ಮನೆಂಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟಿವ್ ಅಂತ, ಒಂದು ಪೊಲಿಟಿಕಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟಿವ್ ಅಂತ. ಚೀಫ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರು, ಪ್ರೈಮ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್, ಇವರೆಲ್ಲ ಪೊಲಿಟಿಕಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟಿವ್. ಅವ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಲಾನ ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಬಟ್ ಅವ್ರು ಬಂದು ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಅನದರ್ ಬ್ರಾಂಚ್ ಆಫ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಪರ್ಮನೆಂಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟಿವ್. Now these are civil servants where you're going to sit, you're going to work until you retire and implementing the law, and you coordinate with the political executives. Okay? Understood so far? I see a lot of frowning faces. Everything is all right? Everything is making sense? Perfect. Cool. So now we'll try to understand what are the roles and responsibilities of the basic civil servants. This is only to make sure that you know exactly what you're doing with your life right now. ಯಾರಾದರೂ ಬಂದು ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಸಿವಿಲ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಬರೀತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ, ಹಂಗಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳೋಕ್ಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ಅಬ್ಬಬ್ಬಬ್ಬ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ. So one needs to have clarity, right? Where exactly are you going? So that is why I've got this slide for you. Cool. So here, we will first try to understand what are the generic responsibilities of a civil servant. I told you about the political executives, right? So your job as a permanent executive is to help them in law making. And in the legislature also, there are people who are sitting in parliaments, MPs and MLAs. It is the role of you guys to help them make the laws. And second, as I said, it's the law implementation. These are the basic roles of all the civil servants, may it be IAS, IPS, Forest Service, or the rest 23, 24 services that are there in the list. So a lot of people, what happens is that they just know these names. Indian Administrative Service, Indian Foreign Service, Indian Police Service, Forest Service. Nobody knows any of this. So I'll just give you a broad overview of what these services are. Indian Administrative Service, as you know, these are the people who sit at the top of the government. They are the ones who implement the law, and they are the ones who is most known in the public eye because they interact with the public face to face. ಜನರ ಜೊತೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾತನಾಡೋದು ಅವರೇ. Next, there is Indian Foreign Service. These are the people who go abroad and ensure that Indians' interests are upheld through ambassadorship or in different embassies or consulates. And then the police service, these are the people who ensure that law and order is maintained in our country. And they coordinate with Indian Administrative Service officers. And then you got Indian Audit and Account Service. So this has to be studied in association with Indian Civil Account Service. Indian Civil Account Service is basically government accounts book ಗಳಲ್ಲ ಇರ್ತವೆ ತಾನೆ. There are government account books. So who keeps those account books ready? ಇವಾಗ ಏನಾದರೂ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಒಂದು ಜೆಟ್ ಬೈ ಮಾಡ್ತು ಅಂದ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಫ್ರಾನ್ಸಿಂದ ಯುದ್ಧ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ. So when India is trying to buy certain flights from a foreign country, that has to be written in some account, right? So civil account service people ensure that all of this account is kept ready. And Indian Audit and Account Service come and check whether these accounts are in order or not. So that is how those two services work. And then you have something called Indian Corporate Law Service. Indian Corporate Law Service is basically the government's association with respect to all these bodies, corporate social responsibility and everything, is all of that being taken care of adequately. That is something they take care of. Indian Defense Account Service, as I said, Civil Account Service, if defense does something, then that all the accounts are taken care of by Defense Account Service. Most of these services are self-explanatory. And Indian Defence Estate Service andre you might have seen in Bangalore ಅಥವಾ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಜಾಗಗಳಲ್ಲಿ. So there are certain Air Force stations, there are Madras Sappers ಅಂತ ಒಂದಿದೆ near Alsur. So all these places are defence estates. So this Defence Estate Service takes care of all these estates. So Indian Defence Estate Service is basically the IAS of defence, simply put. And then you have got something called Indian Information Service. You got your Doordarshan or any online footprint, PIB. So all of this is taken care of by Indian Information Service. And then you have got Indian Postal Service. Indian Post, everybody knows, ellargu gotta Indian Post. So this is being administered by Indian Postal Service. Then Indian Post and Telecommunication Accounts and Service, whatever account activities happens in Post, that is taken care of by this IPTAS. And then Indian Railway Management Service. So illi Indiadalli enen railway assets gal irtave, so they take care of it all. So Indian Railway Management Service traffic anta ondide. So ಏನು ಜನರು ಡೈಲಿ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಟಿಕೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಥವಾ there is a huge coal consignment that moves across India. So all of that is taken care of by Indian Railway Management Service traffic, the movement of railways. And then Indian Railway Management Service, the accounts of railways. And then personnel anta ಇನ್ನೊಂದಿದೆ, Indian Railway Management Service personnel. This is basically all the officers are there in Indian Railways, right? Indian Railways is the biggest recruiter in India. So all of the workers who are present in Indian Railways, they are managed by this service. And then you have got Indian Railway Protection Force Service. So these are the polices who are present in ಟ್ರೈನಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿರಬೇಕು, ಕೆಲವೊಬ್ಬರು ಟ್ರೈನ್ಗೆ ಇದು ಆಫೀಸರ್ಸ್ ಕೂತಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ RPF written on it. So those people belong to Indian Railway Protection Force Service in order to protect all the assets of railways. Then you have got Indian Revenue Service. There are two classes of them. This is also something that you might have heard of. ಇದನ್ನು ಕೇಳ್ಪಟ್ಟಿರ್ತೀರಾ ನೀವು. So there are two categories there, IRS, IT. IT is nothing but income tax. So people who are earning every year you pay income tax, right? ಪ್ರತಿ ವರ್ಷ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಪೇ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ. ಸೊ ಆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಬೈ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ರೆವಿನ್ಯೂ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಬೋತ್ ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಟ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ಸ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ ಯು ಹವ್ ಗಾಟ್ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ರೈಲ್ವೆ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇಂಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಈ GST ಏನಿದೆ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಇವ್ರು ನೋಡ್ಕೋತಾರೆ. ಪ್ಲಸ್ ಫಾರಿನಿಂದ ಬಂದಾಗ ಬಾರ್ಡರ್ ಹತ್ರ ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ ಕಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್, ರೈಟ್? You pay customs tax and everything, all the consignments. All of that is being taken care of by Indian Railway Service, customs and indirect tax. And then you have Indian Trade Service. Whatever trade happens between India and abroad, this has to happen in a smooth manner. All of those laws and the grassroots level, law making, all of that is taken care of by Indian Trade Service. Special economic zones anta ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಇರ್ತವೆ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ. So where goods are manufactured and taxes ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ. So all of that is being carried over by Indian Trade Service. Next is Armed Forces Headquarters Civil Services. See, all these four are Group B services. Above this are Group A services. Group A and Group B, the difference is that in the rank. ಇವಾಗ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸಲ್ಲಿ ಇವಾಗ ಯಾರಾದರೂ IPS ಮೂಲಕ ಎಂಟ್ರಿ ಆದರೆ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ SP. ಸೊ ದ ಸೂಪರಿಂಟೆಂಡೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಪೊಲೀಸ್. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ A ಸರ್ವಿಸ್. ಅಕಸ್ಮಾತ್ KPSC ಮೂಲಕ ಬರೆದುಬಿಟ್ಟು DYSP ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ ತಾನೆ. Few people become DYSP, that is Deputy Superintendent of Police. So they are Group B. So these services are of the similar rank, but UPSC does them because all these services, they belong to union territories. Because our state illa, nam KPSC thara our exams illa, they don't have exams. So UPSC takes the role of creating similar services. Similarly, as we have KPSC, KS iruttalla, so we have DANIX and PONDIX. So these are KS officers of Delhi, Andaman, Nicobar and all of these areas and union territories, and similarly for Pondicherry. And the same thing goes for DANIPS and DANIX also. So all of these stuff, ಮೊದಲನೇ ಟೈಮ್ ಕೇಳಿದಾಗ ತುಂಬ ಬೋರಿಂಗ್ ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೆ, ಬಟ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಓಕೆ, ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್. I know that this would have been boring for you guys, but the fact that I'm teaching you guys is because nobody tells you this generally, unless you go and Google, ಇದನ್ನು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. So let's finish this part. Now, this also most people would know, but I think I would like to lay emphasis on all these aspects because we know that there is prelims, mains and interview. We know that prelims is qualifying in nature. We know that in mains we have to get certain marks. We'll clear and go to interview, and after that we'll get a rank. Everybody knows that. But what happens here is that, do we provide adequate amount of time to each and every one of those stages of exam? Probably not. I've seen a lot of people where they lay a lot of emphasis on prelims. Start ಮಾಡಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಸೆಪ್ಟೆಂಬರಿಂದ ಇವಾಗಲೇ ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಓದ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ until May. And then once they clear prelims, they'll get 120, 130. Next 80 to 90 days ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಮೇನ್ಸ್ಗೆ, ಏನೂ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ, ಫುಲ್ಲು ಶಾಕಾಗಿ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ. Then after that, you feel like, what am I even doing here? So it is very important to know what are the different stages of this exam and how much effort and time should I invest in these 3 different stages. First, let me talk about prelims. Do you have basic idea of what prelims is? Yes? Everybody? ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬರಿಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆಯಾ ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಐಡಿಯಾ ಅಂತ? ಯಾರಾದರೂ ಒಬ್ರು ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೇಳಿ ನನಗೆ. ನೀವು ತುಂಬ ಸೈಲೆಂಟಾಗಿ ಕೂತಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಪೇಪರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ? ಹಾಂ, ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಬೇಜಾರು ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಡಿ. ನಾನು ಇದೇ ಥರ ಒಂದು ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಕೂತಿದ್ದೆ, ನಾನು ಫುಲ್ ಕೈಯೆಲ್ಲ ಶೆಕೆ ಬರ್ತಾಯಿತ್ತು ಮಾತನಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಯಾರಾದರೂ ಕೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಈ ಥರ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ. ಬಟ್ ತೊಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಏನಾದರೂ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಓಪನ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೇಳಿ, ತೊಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು ತಿನ್ಬಿಡಲ್ಲ ಯಾರನ್ನೂ ಇಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಮುಂದಿನ ವರ್ಷ ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್ 24ನೇ ಮೇ ಇದೆ. ನಾನು ಕ್ಯಾಲೆಂಡರ್ ಲೆಕ್ಕ ಹಾಕಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ, 250 ದಿನ ಚಿಲ್ಡ್ರನ್ ಇದೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ 2 ಪೇಪರ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್. ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು 9:30 ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, 2 hours ಪೇಪರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಲುಕ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್. There will be one question, you have to pick one among the 4 questions. So but I'll have a detailed session on prelims for 1 hour tomorrow. I'll explain in detail what the prelims is all about, okay? The whole point is about 15 lakh people apply for prelims every year. 15 ಲಕ್ಷ ಜನ ಪ್ರತಿ ವರ್ಷ ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸಿಗೆ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ರೂಮಿಗೆ ಬಂದು ಬರೆಯೋರು ಬರೀ 6 ಲಕ್ಷ ಜನ. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ದೋಸ್ 6 lakh people, only about 15,000 ಜನ get cleared and go and write mains. So this is a huge filtration. Our goal is to ensure that we are above the cutoff safely. That is our goal in this exam. We have to keep that in mind. And the way the prelims works is that it's like you have a question. ಎದುರುಗಡೆ ಇದೆ, ಇದು ಕರೆಕ್ಟೋ ಇಲ್ವೋ, ಈ ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಕರೆಕ್ಟೋ ಇಲ್ವೋ, is this option correct or not, is this option correct or not. This is everything that we need to know. The brain power that we are using here is that of observation. Whatever I am saying, is it correct or not? I'm mentioning this because in mains you use a different side of your brain. Secondly, and these are the basic syllabus when it comes to your prelims, and I want you to pay attention to this because the same thing comes on mains as well, and I have a point to make down these slides. You've got your history ಓದಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, geography ಓದಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, economy, environment. You have your polity is basically how the government is working and everything, and then current events. 2020 from 2020 the share of current affairs has increased significantly. ಭಾಳಷ್ಟು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ 2020 ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಫೇರ್ಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ. ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಫೇರ್ಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಇವಾಗ ಏನೇನು ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ವಿದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು ಭಾಳ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಪೇಪರ್ 2 ಅಥವಾ CSAT ಅಂತೀವಿ ನಾವು. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಫ್ಟನ್ ನೆಗ್ಲೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಪೇಪರ್. ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಜನ ಓದ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿಲ್ಲ. ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಬ್ಯಾಚ್ಮೇಟ್ಸೇ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಪೇಪರ್ 1ನಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಳಷ್ಟು ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ತರ್ತಾರೆ, ಬಟ್ ಪೇಪರ್ 2 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ತಲೆ ಚಚ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೂತ್ಕೋತಾರೆ, ಅಪ್ಪ ಯಾಕಪ್ಪ ನಾನು ಎಫರ್ಟ್ ಹಾಕಿಲ್ಲ ಇದು ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಈಕ್ವಲಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಎ ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ನೆಗ್ಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್, ಬಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಟು ದ್ಯಾಟ್. ನಾಳೆ ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟಾಗಿ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ಡಾಗಿ ಹೋಗೋಣ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ ಮೇನ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಯುವರ್ UPSC ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್, ಮೇನ್ಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಮೇನ್ಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ 5 days. It starts on 21st next year. It starts on Friday, and then there is one essay exam on Friday. And then after that, on Saturday, you've got General Studies 1 and General Studies 2. 2 papers on Saturday. And then on Sunday, you've got General Studies 3 and General Studies 4. And then you have a huge gap of 5 days. Then next Saturday, that is on 29th August, you've got 2 compulsory language papers, which you have to write. And I think people from Northeast India, I think one of the languages is exempted. One language, English, everybody has to write. And the second, you can pick any other language. ಕನ್ನಡ, ಹಿಂದಿ, ತೆಲುಗು, ಇದು ಕ್ವಾಲಿಫೈಯಿಂಗ್ ನೇಚರ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. 300 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. 300ರಲ್ಲಿ 75 ತೆಗೆದ್ರೆ ಪಾಸ್. ಇದು ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಕಷ್ಟ ಅಲ್ಲ. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟ್ ಟು ಪಾಸ್. ಸೊ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾನ್ ಆಫ್ 5 days, and this is where most of our effort in this journey goes. And these are the broad subjects of all the general studies. And there is another subject called optional, which I said, which you write on the last day. I'll talk more about it in detail later in the slides. Okay? So yeah. As you can see, the syllabus in general studies 1, 2, 3, don't you see similarities between them and the prelim syllabus? Prelims ಮತ್ತು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ similarities ಕಾಣ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ ನಾವು. So what is the similarities? Indian heritage, culture, history, geography ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಇರ್ತವೆ. ಸೊ ನಾವು ಯಾವ ಥರ ಓದಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸು ಮೇನ್ಸು ಅಂತ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರಿಮಿನೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಬಾರ್ದು. ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ನ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕೆ ಓದಬೇಕು. ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ ಎಂಫಸಿಸ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ಗೆ. ಅದನ್ನ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಮಾಡೋದು ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. So this is what a normal question in mains would look like. Okay? So now I have an exercise for you guys. Everybody take out your pen and paper. Even online students, please take out your pen and paper. I think you're going to like this. Aishwarya, I'll ask somebody to share this PDF after the session is over. For now, let's focus here, okay? I'll make sure that this PDF gets to you. Yeah. Ready now? Everybody has got their pen and paper? Okay. This is going to be a good exercise. It will make you realize what exactly is this demanding from you. Is this exam demanding from you? Ashte. Okay. Now, I'll ask you a question and you get 7 minutes worth of time. And you have to write what I ask in 150 words. 150 ಪದಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಕೇಳಿರೋ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗೆ 7 ನಿಮಿಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀಬೇಕು. Okay? We'll do that? All right. So now my watch is saying 5:43. By 5:50, I want you to write answer to this question. Comment on your life experience in the year 2025 so far and your plans for the rest of the year in 150 words. Yeah, you have 7 minutes to finish. 2025 2025 ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜೀವನ ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ಯಾವ ಥರ ಇದೆ ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿ. Your life experience. In the year 2025. 2025. So far. So far. And your plans. And your plans. Plans for the rest of the year. Yes, for the rest of your time's up. Just lift your pens up. That's a lot. ನಾನು ಜಾಸ್ತಿನೇ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೆ ನಿಮಗೆ. I've given you time to read the question and everything. I've easily given you about 9 to 10 minutes. That's a lot. That's not the amount of time you get to answer a question of 150 words. While answering these questions, I need few people to tell me how you felt while writing. ಈ question ನೋಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಪೆನ್ನ ಪೇಪರ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಇಟ್ಟಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಏನು ಅನಿಸ್ತು ನಿಮಗೆ? I want somebody to tell me. ಹೇಳಿ. Completely blank. Absolutely. Yeah, what did you feel? ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಮತ್ತೊಬ್ರು? ಮೈಂಡಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ, ಬಟ್ ಹೌ ಡು ಐ ಪೆನ್ ಇಟ್ ಡೌನ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಪೇಪರ್? Someone else from here? I want this group to be more active. Really, what did you guys feel? I see everybody was just trying to write something. What did you feel? ತುಂಬ ನರ್ವಸ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊರಂಟೆ ಬರೋ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಒದ್ದೆ ಆಗಿಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಪೆನ್ನೇ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ ಕೈಯಿಂದ. So that is sometimes what all the aspirants feel as well. So I made this exercise for you. I'm not completed writing to whom we should send. No, Aishwarya, there's nothing to send. I did this experiment so that you can realize what are the problems that you feel inside your head while writing these answers. Okay? So the basic way we approach to this exam is that we try to perfect how to read. ಬರೀ ಓದ್ತಾನೆ ಕೂತ್ಕೋತೀವಿ. ಲೈಫ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾನೆ, ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬರು ಓದಿದಿರತ್ತಾನೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಲೈಫ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ. ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಇದ್ರೂ ಬರೆಯೋಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾಕೆ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಯಿತು ನಿಮಗೆ? ಅದನ್ನು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ನಾವು ಕೋಚಿಂಗ್ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ, ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆಯಿಂದ ಸಂಜೆ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ, ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ಓದ್ತೀವಿ, ಬರ್ತೀವಿ, ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಡ್ತಪ್ಪ ಅನ್ಕೋತೀವಿ. ಬಟ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ದ ಕೇಸ್ ವಿತ್ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟು ದಿಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್. ಬೇರೆ ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ ಸೆಟ್ಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಬೇಕು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ನಾನು ಈ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆರಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಸಿದ್ದೆ ನಿಮಗೆ. So next after this, so this is basically the skill set that you require in order to write answers. ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ ಅಲ್ಲಿರೋರಿಗೆ? Can you see this? ನಿಮಗೆ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? Okay. So first you have to understand the demand of the question asked. ಈ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಏನು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆ? What is this even asking you? What is this even asking you? It is basically asking you to comment on your life experience in the year 2025. So far. That is one aspect of the question. ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೆ ಜೀವನ ಹೆಂಗಿತ್ತು? ಇದನ್ನು ಯಾವ ಥರ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದೀರಾ? ಪ್ಯಾರಾಗ್ರಾಫಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೆದಿರ್ತೀರಾ? People would have written it in paragraphs. Some people would have written in point wise. I don't think a lot of people would have written it in point wise. You would have generally like one essay written. But here you should think smart. You should be like, okay, life andre enu? What are the different aspects of life? I've got my health. I've got family. I have sports if I'm playing something. And if I'm in a relationship, then I have somebody with whom I'm having life. ಅವ್ರ ಜೊತೆ ಹೆಂಗಿದೆ ಸಂಬಂಧ ಅದನ್ನು ಬರಿಬೋದು. Other than that, if I'm watching something, ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತ ಪಕ್ಕದ ಮನೆಯವ್ರ ಜೊತೆ ಹೆಂಗೆ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ, ಏನು ಯಾರು ಜಗಳ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಆಲ್ ದೀಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ದಟ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ರೈಟ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ವೈಸ್ ಬರಿಬಿಡು. ಒಂದು ಪಕ್ಕದ ಮನೆ, ಎರಡನೇದು ಹೆಲ್ತು, ಮೂರನೇದು ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ಸ್. ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಹೌ ಯು ರೈಟ್. ಸೆಗ್ರಿಗೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಬೇಕು ಆವಾಗ. ಸೊ ಯು ಜನರೇಟ್ ಮೋರ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಗನ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಬೈ ಸಿಟ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ರೀಡಿಂಗ್ ಯುವರ್ ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಡೇ ಇನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡೇ ಔಟ್. ಪ್ರತಿದಿನ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರೀ ಓದ್ತಾನೆ ಇದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಬರಲ್ಲ. This is also the skill that we need to understand. So basically, first one is how do you first understand the demand of the question. Yeah. Second is recalling studied information to use in questions. Life ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತು, ಅದನ್ನು ರೀಕಾಲ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಎಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಇದೆ ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ. ಬಟ್ ಇವಾಗ ನೀವು ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಟಿಪ್ಪು ಸುಲ್ತಾನ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಓದ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೂತ್ಕೋತೀರಾ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಸ್ಟ್ರೆಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಎನ್ವೈರನ್ಮೆಂಟಲ್ಲಿ ಟಿಪ್ಪು ಸುಲ್ತಾನ್ ಯಾವಾಗ ಸತ್ತ ಅಂತ ಬರುತ್ತಾ ಮನೆಗೆ ತಲೆಗೆ? ಡಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಕಮ್ ದೇರ್? ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಶುಡ್ ಡೂ ದೇರ್, ವಿ ಶುಡ್ ರಿವೈಸ್ ಇಟ್. ಪದೇ ಪದೇ ಓದಿದ್ದನ್ನೇ ಓದಬೇಕು. ಬಟ್ ಅದು ಓದಿದ್ದನ್ನೇ ಯಾವ ಥರ ಓದೋದು ಅದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ನಾನು ಆಮೇಲೆ ಫೋಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ದ ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ ಸೆಟ್ ದಟ್ ಯು ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರಿಂಗ್ ದ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಟು ಫಿಟ್ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ಸ್. ಇವಾಗ ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಎಸ್ಸೆ ರೀತಿ ಬರೆದಿರ್ತೀರಾ. ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದೆ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ವೈಸಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೆದ್ರೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಜನರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರಿಂಗ್, ದ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಟ್. ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಈಸ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ದ ಆನ್ಸರ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಎ ಟೈಮ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೇಂಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಯಾಟ್. 7 ನಿಮಿಷದಲ್ಲಿ 150 ಪದಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀಬೇಕು. ಯು ಆರ್ ಸಪೋಸ್ ಟು ರೈಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಇನ್ 7 minutes ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಡೂ ದಿಸ್ ಫಾರ್ 10 questions. In a general studies paper, I'm saying how it works in a general studies paper is that, so in any general studies paper, so you have 10 questions which is equal to 10 marks each, okay? And then you have another 10 questions which is equal to 15 marks each. From here you get 100 marks. From here you get 150 marks. So this is one paper. What you just did was one question of 10 marks. You've written one question. And this you ideally take 7 minutes. And this you take 11 minutes to write. And you get cumulatively of 3 hours time. And this you have to do for 9 papers. So just ಎದುರ್ಕೊಂಬೇಡಿ, this is what you are signing up for. ಇದನ್ನು ಜರ್ನಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗಲೇ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ you'll be able to meet the demand of the question. ಇಲ್ಲಾಂದರೆ ಓದ್ತಾನೆ ಕೂತ್ಕೋತೀರ. At the end of the day, this is what is expected out of you. You need to write answers. ಬರೀಬೇಕು ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು. First few attempts of my journey, I lost it miserably because of this. ಬರೀ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಓದ್ತಾನೆ ಇದ್ದೆ. ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ರಮ್ ಬುಕ್ ಬರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಎನಿಬಡಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಸೀನ್ ದ ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ರಮ್? ದರ್ ಇಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಒನ್ ಬಿಗ್ ಬುಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ರಮ್. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಿತ್ಕೊಂಡು 9 ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ನಂದು. ಅಷ್ಟು ಓದಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಬಟ್ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್? ಐ ಕುಡಂಟ್ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ 3 attempts. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ ಇಸ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಐ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ವಾಂಟ್ ಯು ಟು ನೋ ದಿಸ್. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಯು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್ now, you might not get to experience this sometime later, that how your brain is working, because you are not going to write answers at this point of time. You'll just learn. But keep in the back of my mind that, one fine day, whatever date today is, I tried to recall what my life is all about. ನನ್ನ ಜೀವನ ಹೆಂಗೆ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಬರೆಯೋಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನಿಸ್ತಿದ್ದೆ, ಬಟ್ ಅದಾಗಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ ಸೆಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವೆರಿ ವೆರಿ ನೆಸೆಸರಿ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಒನ್ಸ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿಡ್ ಟು ಅ ಗುಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್, ವೆನ್ I'll tell that to you down the slide. But the takeaway of this is that this skill is highly important. Okay? Got it? Perfect. Let's go. Now, you have cleared mains. Congratulations. You finished all the 9 papers. You sat through for 27 hours of grueling exam, and then finally you made it to personality test. So of 15,000 or so people, about 3,000 they get to the interview, and here you're being holistically evaluated. All of your personality, how you behave, your knowledge and all will be evaluated, but all of that is done in mains. So this would, from the knowledge point of view, would not be as difficult. But there are other aspects, your hobbies and everything, where you'll be tested on. This is for 275 marks. 275 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸಿಗೆ ಇದು. ಓಕೆ, 275 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸಿಗೆ ಇದು. ಭಯ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ನಿಮಗೆ? ಇಲ್ಲ, ಒಳ್ಳೇದು ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೊತ್ತಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ. So 275 marks, and the mains was for 1,750 marks. Adding together, this forms up to 2,025 marks. This is the year. Go for it. And then, now let's come to the main aspect of things. What are the common issues that you will face? You will face, I guarantee that for you. You will face while writing this exam. Because you will start this journey of civil service exam until you reach is like 50 kilometers ahead. but our eyes can't see beyond 200 meters. So during the course of this journey, you will see, okay, should I do this? ಈ ಬುಕ್ ಓದದ, ಆ ಬುಕ್ ಓದದ, ಇದನ್ನು ಓದಿದ್ರೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಟೈಮ್ ಓದಬೇಕು, ಎಷ್ಟು ದಿನ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಓದಬೇಕು, ಯಾವ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದು, ನನ್ನ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ ಒಂದು ತಗೋತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ ಅದನ್ನೇ ತೊಗೊಂಬಿಡ್ಲಾ, ಲೈಬ್ರರಿಗೆ ಹೋಗೋದಾ ಮನೇಲಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದ. So many questions you will get. I'll give you an objective idea of how I went through this one, and secondly, how one should go about it based on my mistakes and experience. That is what this chunk is all about, all right? And if you have any questions, any misconceptions, please forward it to me. I'm here to help you, okay? And same thing goes for online students as well. Yeah, they're still stuck on PDF, okay. Services related issue, I think I've covered most of this. What is your understanding of service? I saw how bored you guys were. I'm not going to dig more into this. So there are certain exam related issues. ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿ ನನಗೆ, what are the general issues that is there on your mind? What are the doubts? ಏನಪ್ಪ ಕುತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಕೊರಿತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅದೊಂದು ಇದ್ದೇ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದು ಬಿಟ್ಟು what are the issues that you guys are facing? What do you think? Tell me that. Consistency. ಹೆಂಗೆ ಕನ್ಸಿಸ್ಟಾಗಿ ಓದೋದು ಅಂತ. Okay, one mission. How to maintain consistency when you are lowly motivated? Okay, that is a general concern. Okay, other than that, what are the concerns that you feel? Generally, you fresh ಆಗಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ, ತಲೆ ಫುಲ್ ಖಾಲಿ ಇದೆ, ಬಟ್ ಆದರೂ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ಹೆಂಗಪ್ಪ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್, ಪ್ಲೀಸ್. ಯು ಡೋಂಟ್ ನೋ ವೇರ್ ಟು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್. ಅಬ್ಸಲ್ಯೂಟ್ಲಿ ಎವ್ರಿಬಡಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ದಟ್ ಕನ್ಸರ್ನ್. ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಬುಕ್ ಎತ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾರೆ ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತ, ಯಾವ್ದು ಎತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಓಕೆ, ಅದರ್ ದೆನ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಇಶ್ಯೂಸೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಂ, discipline, yes, consistency and discipline, that can get quite difficult, yes. Other than that, time management, yes, time management while sitting and studying and trying to manage time between different subjects, and also in the exam hall 7 minutes or anything for mains. Yes, very good. Sorry, family pressure, definitely that can be one. ಏನಪ್ಪ ಕತ್ತಿ ಆಗಿ ವಯಸ್ಸಾಯಿತು, ಇಷ್ಟೊತ್ತಾದರೂ ದುಡಿಯೋಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ. ಕಂಪ್ಯಾರಿಸನ್, ಅದು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಂಪ್ಯಾರಿಸನ್. ತಿಳಿಸಿ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಪಕ್ಕದ ಮನೆ ಮಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರು ಕಂಪ್ನಿಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಿದ್ದಾಳೆ, ನೀವೇನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ಅವಳು ಮದುವೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಾಳೆ. ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್ ವಿಲ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್. Men have separate issues, women might have separate issues, and everybody has the same issues, and everybody is swimming in this ocean. Okay, cool. So these are certain issues. I'll go further in depth of all these issues. There are certain issues that you guys specifically are facing now. You haven't even started your preparation. Before your preparation, there are certain issues that you guys are facing. One, stages of exam and relative importance. So what is the importance of prelims and mains? I just showed you that. So that is taken care of, I hope. Do you have any questions here? Yes. And then, solution is understanding how the relevance of each cycle works. I'll break down the cycle for you to better understand how you can segregate time over the course of next few months. So one family issues you said. Before that, we have I'll first figure out what are the exam related issues that you guys are facing, and then I'll come to all the lifestyle issues that you guys might be facing in this exam, okay? So in this exam related issue, what happens is that ಫಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಯು ಡೋಂಟ್ ನೋ ವೇರ್ ಟು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್. ಯಾವ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟಿಂದ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ಐಡಿಯಾ ಅದೊಂದು. ಡಿಸಿಪ್ಲಿನ್ ಇನ್ನೊಂದಾಯಿತು. ಇದ್ರ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಇಶ್ಯೂಸು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಈವನ್ ತಲೆಗೆ ಹೊಡೆದಿರಲ್ಲ. ಇವಾಗ ಟೈಮ್ ನಾವು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ 16ನೇ ತಾರೀಕು ಸೆಪ್ಟೆಂಬರು. ಒಬ್ಬರು ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು ಯಾವ ಬುಕ್ಕಪ್ಪ ಎತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಓದಲಿ ಅಂತ ನಾಳೆ 17ನೇ ತಾರೀಕು. ಸೊ ಈವನ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಟು ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್, ವಿ ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್, we need to not just think about the day 17, we need to think about the whole cycle. Where exactly are we placed here over the course of the next year? ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಮೇಗೆ 24ನೇ ತಾರೀಕು ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ ನಮ್ಮದು. ನಾವು ಇದನ್ನು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಮೇನ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮೆನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು. ಇದು ತಾನೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಗೋಲು. ಸೊ ಐ ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಫಿಗರ್ ಔಟ್ ಹೌ ಡು ಐ ಸ್ಪೆಂಡ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ನೌ ಟು ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್, ರೈಟ್? ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ದಟ್ ವಿ ಫೇಸ್ ರೈಟ್ ನೌ. ಸೊ ದರ್ ಆರ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಹೂ ಫೀಲ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ಲಿ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದಿಸ್. ಒನ್, ನನ್ನ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಅಟೆಂಪ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಪ್ಪ, ನನಗೆಲ್ಲ ಇದು ನಮ್ಮ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿಯೆಲ್ಲ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಹೆಸರು ತರಿಸ್ಕೋಬೇಕು, ನಮ್ಮ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಏನೋ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಬೈಕೋತಾ ಇದ್ರು, ಮತ್ತು ಒಬ್ಳು ಹುಡುಗಿ ನನಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಗಿದ್ಲು, ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಲು, ಅವಳಿಗೆ ತೋರಿಸ್ಬೇಕು ನಾನು ಇವಾಗ ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂತ. ಆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ದೀಸ್ ಮೋಟಿವೇಶನ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ವಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್. ಸೊ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ಯು ಮೈಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಎ ಗರ್ಲ್ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ and she breaks up with you, and you might have to get back at her and have a revenge, and in the form of an exam. That's a motivation that many of us might have. So, but this exam can be very grueling. I took 5 years. I hope that none of you guys take so many time, touch wood, that you get to clear it in the first few attempts. But also, I want you guys to give at least 2 years to this journey. I want you guys to give at least 2 years to this journey, okay? Only then we can give a quality performance in this exam, because this exam, just completing the whole syllabus and being confident in writing answers requires one complete year. There are people who clear it in their first attempt, they say, but they would have started further back. ತುಂಬ ವರ್ಷಗಳ ಮುಂಚೆನೇ ಓದಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಅವರು ಒಂದು ಅಟೆಂಪ್ಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರಲ್ಲ, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಅಟೆಂಪ್ಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಸಿ ಇನ್ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕೇಸಸ್. ಸೊ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಮೆಂಟಲಿ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ಡ್ ದಟ್ ಯು ನೋ ವಾಟ್, ಇದು 2 ವರ್ಷ ತಗೊಳುತ್ತೆ ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್, ಮೈಂಡಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಓಕೆ, ಒನ್ಸ್ ವಿತ್ ದಟ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ ಸೆಡ್, ದರ್ ಆರ್ ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಹೂ ಡೂ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟಫ್. ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಪೂರ್ತಿ ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಓದ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್ವರೆಗೂ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಬಟ್ ಮೇನ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ. ಅದೊಂದು ಸಾವಿರ ಜನ. ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ರು ಏನಂದರೆ ಫುಲ್ಲು ಮೇನ್ಸ್ ಓದ್ತಾನೆ ಕೂತ್ಕೋತಾರೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇನ್ನು 1 ತಿಂಗಳು ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ, ಏನು ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಂತ ಬುಕ್ ತೆಗಿತಾರೆ, ಇನ್ನೂ ತಲೆಗೊಳಿಯಲ್ಲ. ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಓದಿರೋ ಮೇನ್ಸ್ ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜು ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಕ್ಲಿಯರೇ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಇವಾಗ ಮೇನ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಓದ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಮೇನ್ಸ್ ಬರೀತಾರೆ, ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ. ದೇ ವುಡಂಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ಡ್ ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್, ವೇರ್ ಆರ್ ದೇ ಗೋನಾ ಗೋ ರೈಟ್ ಮೇನ್ಸ್? Are you able to understand what I'm saying? Because I'm using a lot of Kannada as well. Yeah, I'm using a lot of Kannada. So, did you get what I was trying to say? So, what happens is that people end up studying for mains all the way till April, that they do not get adequate amount of time for, prelims. They study mains, they don't get time for prelims, and they fail to clear prelims. This happens year after year. And I'll give you an example of somebody who did it, me. I kept on studying for mains. Didn't clear prelims, ended up getting 70s. This happened for 2 years straight. Do not make that mistake. I've made a lot of mistakes, learn from me. That's what I want you to do from here. Okay, so that's what happened for prelims. So how do we go about it? For any new candidate, it requires at least 100 days to dedicatedly prepare for prelims. 100 ದಿನ ಕೊಡಲೇಬೇಕು ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ. ಸೊ ಐಡಿಯಲಿ ಐ ವುಡ್ ವಾಂಟ್ ಯು ಗೈಸ್ ಟು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿಂಗ್ ಫಾರ್ ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಇದೆ ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು, ನೀವು ಇನ್ನೂ ಓದೋಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ಬಟ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಟ್ರೈಂಗ್ ಟು ಗಿವ್ ಯು ಎ ಬ್ರೀಫ್ ಓವರ್ ವ್ಯೂ. ಎಲ್ಲನೂ ತಲೆಗೆ ತುಂಬಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ನಿಮಗೆ ತುಂಬಿಸ್ಬೇಕು, ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಯಾರೂ ತುಂಬಲ್ಲ ಇದನ್ನು. ಮೆನಿ ಆಫ್ ದೀಸ್ ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ಯು ರಿಯಲೈಸ್ ಸಮ್ವೇರ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಮಿಡಲ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಜರ್ನಿ. ನನಗಿದೆಲ್ಲ ಯಾವಾಗ ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತು ಗೊತ್ತಾ? 2 ಅಟೆಂಪ್ಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟ ಮೇಲೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತು. 2 ವರ್ಷ ವೇಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ ನಾನು. ಸೊ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಇವಾಗಲೇ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ, ನೀವು ಏನು ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ಅದನ್ನು ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಬೋದು. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಸೋಲ್ ಪರ್ಪಸ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಗಿವಿಂಗ್ ಯು ಆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದೀಸ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಸಮ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಡೌನ್ ದ ಲೈನ್, ನಾಟ್ ನೌ. ಬಟ್ ವೆನ್ ಯು ಗೆಟ್ ದೀಸ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್, ಈ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ತಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಾಗ ಅದು ಬಹಳ ಲೇಟ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಟ್ಟಿರುತ್ತೆ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ. ಸೊ ಐ ವಾಂಟ್ ಯು ಟು ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್ ದಿಸ್. ಸೊ ಫೆಬ್ರವರಿಲಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ನೀವು ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಇವಾಗ ಸೆಪ್ಟೆಂಬರಿಂದ ಫೆಬ್ರವರಿ, ಇವಾಗ ಕೋಚಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್ ನೀವು ರಾಜ್ಕುಮಾರ್ ಸೇರಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾನೆ ಏನೇನಿದೆ ಅಂತ. ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಟ್ರೈ ಟು ಸಿಟ್, focus, study as much as you want, and then we can take a prelim specific focus from February. Okay, I'll teach you how to study for prelims completely tomorrow. Yeah, that will be my goal. Until then, you stick to what Rajkumar Academy is doing to you, okay, or any academy that you guys are a part of. So that is done. And then what are the sources of subjects? This is one major issue. Lot of people have questions. ಕೆಲವೊಬ್ರು ಬುಕ್ ಇಷ್ಟು ಉದ್ದ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾರೆ ಮನೇಲಿ ಒಂದು ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟಿಗೆ. ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳೋದು 2 ಕ್ವಶನ್, ಏನು ಮಾಡೋದು? ನಾನೊಂದು ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ. ಸೊ ಹಿಯರ್, ಬಟ್ ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ UPSC ಪಿಕ್ಸ್ ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ ಸೋರ್ಸಸ್, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ NCERT. ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ರಿಂಟ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಬುಕ್ಗಳೇ ಇವು. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಗಿವ್ಸ್ ಯು ದ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟಲ್ಲೂ. ಇವಾಗ ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಆದರೂ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಎಕಾನಮಿ ಆದರೂ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ, the basic concepts are provided in these books. These are important and essential for you to study first before you go on to read any standard books. ಇವಾಗ ನೀವು ಯಾವುದಪ್ಪ ಜಿಯೋಗ್ರಫಿಗೆ ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಸಜೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ 11 and 12th NCERT. That is what I studied as well. But in order to understand the level of 11th and 12th, you have to start all the way from 6th. ಪದೇ ಪದೇ ಓದೋ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ, but first you have to read it at least once or twice to understand the basics so that you are ready for class 11th and 12th. Okay? That is pretty much how it works. And the same thing here, art and culture class 11, these are your standard books. I just want you to keep a note of it or take a picture of it. Just keep this in the back of your head. In addition to that, I'm also going to tell you what I did specifically to improve my performance. Okay? So far so good. Is the class too boring? I've told you this is the first time I'm doing this. Even I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just giving you the raw experience of whatever I've felt. If it gets very boring, I'll put a lot of jokes in tomorrow's slides as well, so that it keeps you up and excited. Okay? Yeah. As long as you guys are able to get the best of today's session, I'm happy. And tomorrow's, of course. Okay. So art and culture, NCERT class 11th. That is a very basic book that you have to study. In addition to that, I ended up making my own notes for that subject. and a detailed way as to how to make notes and everything, I'll say in the consecutive slides, because a lot of people would have that doubt as well. Note making andre enu, how do you do it, effectively? So we'll get to that. And then ancient and medieval history. There is a book by Tamil Nadu CRT, that is something that I refer to, and I did nothing beyond that for this subject. And then for modern history, a lot of people have studied, my own batchmates and the people whom I know have cleared this exam. ಅವರು ಎನ್ ಸಿ ಆರ್ ಟಿಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಓದಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿಡ್ ಎನ್ ಸಿ ಆರ್ ಟಿಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಬಟ್ ಹೂ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಏಬಲ್ ಟು ಕೀಪ್ ಅಪ್ ಪೇಸ್ ವಿತ್ ಮೀ ವೈಲ್ ಐಮ್ ಸ್ಪೀಕಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್? ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್, ರೇಸ್ ಯುವರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್. ಓಕೆ, ನಾನು ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಕೈ ಎತ್ತಿ ಹೇಳಿ. ನಾನು ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕಾಗಿ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ ಪಕ್ಕ ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ? ಓಕೆ, ತೊಂದರೆನೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಂ, so spectrum for modern history, a lot of people suggest for you to write it in for you to study NCRTs, but this is not something that I did. But if the coaching academy is teaching you, well and fine, because there are people who haven't studied who have cleared, who have studied who have cleared when it comes to NCRTs here. Geography, same thing, 6 to 10, I have studied this, I've done this. A lot of people are going to read the same thing. And in addition to this, you can read a book called GC Leong. You can write that down. I have never read it. I could still clear it. But in case if you want to, you can add that in your list. But I have never done it. And then polity, class 9, 10th, this gives you very basic understanding of how Indian government is working. I want you to read that. And then you got the Holy Bible called Lakshmikant. That is something everybody has to read for Indian polity. There are people who read a different book called D.D. Basu, but Lakshmikant is what I studied, and you could answer a lot of questions for prelims from that point of view. Okay? We can make notes of that since they are not here, in case you are interested in it. And then economy, class 11th, there is a book which talks about Indian economy. And class 12, macroeconomics ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಬುಕ್ ಇದೆ. ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಯ್ತಲ್ಲ ಬುಕ್ಸು, ಏನು ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಓದಲೇಬೇಕಪ್ಪ, ಏನು ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ, ಓದಲೇಬೇಕು. Environment, there is class 12 book ಇದೆ, there is last 4 chapters of it, that becomes quite important. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಅನಿಸ್ಬಹುದು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟಿಂಗ್ಗೆ, but then again this is something that I realized in my second or third attempt. You can save yourself a lot of time while picking the right books. And then after that there is one more book called Environment. I used to study Sriram IAS ಅಂತ ಒಂದು book ಇತ್ತು. No, that did not in addition to that I added something last year that helped me quite a bit. PMF IAS ಅಂತ ಒಂದು book ಇದೆ for environment. That is something that I read. It's very holistic, graphic picture ಎಲ್ಲ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. That helped me get quite a bit of marks in prelims last year. That is something that you guys can use. PMF IAS for environment. And then science and technology, I had taken this online course by Dr. Shivin Chowdhury. Many of you might have heard of him. Kelirbahudu. So there is a science and technology course of him. I had taken that and it helped me. Okay. So this is what I did to clear this exam 2 times. And failed 4 times. Yeah. Exam related issues, that is done. Treating all the subjects the same way. This is one classical mistake all of us do. Kutkondu history ಓದ್ತಾನೆ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ. The only history is your failed cleared attempts. ಬೇರೆ ಏನೂ ಇರಲ್ಲ. So what we can end up doing is that you have to understand. You have to see which subject should I focus on. Which subjects can I spend less time on. How do we figure this out? You guys give me the answer. ಹಿಂಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗೋದು ಯಾವ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟಿಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ? How do we get to know? PYQs, previous year questions. As I showed you in the syllabus, subject ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ, ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಅಂತ, ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯಿಂದ ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಲುಕ್ ಅಟ್ ದ ಪ್ರೀವಿಯಸ್ ಇಯರ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್. ಮುಂಚಿನ ವರ್ಷಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು ಎಷ್ಟೆಷ್ಟು ಬಂದಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನು ನೋಡಿಕೊಂಡು ನಾವು ಓದೋಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, ಸೊ ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ಸಾಲ್ವ್ ದಿಸ್ pitfall. Positive discrimination is the name, PYQ is the game. So it all comes down to your previous year questions. So what has he rightly pointed out, it gives a sense of direction. And what happens in previous year questions is that 2020 alliro questions tirga 2024 ಅಲ್ಲಿ appear ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. So if you read PYQs religiously, properly, you can answer the questions directly. So you can easily maximize at least 6 to 10 marks just by reading PYQs. And the cutoffs ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, so let's assume if the cutoff of prelims is 85. Do you know what a cutoff is? Okay, so cutoff is basically prelims 200 marks ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So a lot of people are scoring all the way from 50, 60 to all the way from 90. But the government is going to take how much? Of 6 lakh people, they'll take only 15,000. So they'll check, okay, 1% I got, 2% I got, and then 14,999 person there is there. He scored a mark of 85. Okay? he scored a mark of 85. And then 15,000 person, he scored a mark of 85.4. But the government wants only 15,000 people. So 85 the 15,000 though. And then the next person who scores lesser than that, he'll be out of the list. So that mark 85 is the cutoff marks. And a lot of people lose out on this journey, including me, with just 0.5 or 1 mark. This happens a lot. Just focusing on previous year questions and doing and getting your basics right will go a long way for you. You will understand the value of every single mark only when you fail to, clear this exam. This happens in both prelims as well as mains. This is a lot of stuff at once, I get it, but just put it somewhere in some corner of your head. It will come into help when you need it the most. And then this is done. I've told you how. So basically, previous year questions hinge odadu. It doesn't make sense for you to. Else the previous year questions first of all nimge. UPSC website al sigutte. So what you do, I need UPSC CSE question of 2025. You will see all the questions, okay, economy, history and everything. But this is a very inefficient way. You have to go for every single year and then check out. Doesn't it make sense for us to see history question, what and all previous year questions has been asked? Economy, what are the previous questions? So I suggest you get any, book by any coaching institute where this is segregated. History so-and-so question, so that you can look there and then you can go and study, be like, okay, history so many questions are asked. Then I can, open my sources, whatever it is, spectrum. And then I can read here these topics. That makes a lot more sense. But certain institutions, they go one step further. History questions iruttalla, they've broken this down. Mauryan period, 1920 in the test questions ಇದೆ, 1950s ಏನಾಯಿತು test questions ಇದೆ. So all of this is being done. So you can actually look at one specific topic. Okay, now I'm reading Mauryan Empire. Mauryan Empire, government has asked UPSC has asked 3 different questions. Now I'm going to look at these 3 questions. So now then after that I can go back to my source, whichever I'm studying, in this case TNCRT ಅಂತ ಒಂದು book ಇತ್ತು. You open the Mauryan Empire chapter and whatever questions was being asked, you read them more in depth because you know that it is a favorite topic for UPSC. So isn't this better than going to UPSC website and looking at all the previous year questions, because it is quite difficult for you to segregate topics. So this is one thing that gets very important for you to do. Look at PYQs and do that so with the coaching institute material. Okay? And then once you have seen which subject is important and which is not, then you give proportionate amount of time to those subjects. These and all sound very basic for you guys, right? This sounds common sense. But common sense goes outside the window once you start preparing the exam. Because ನೀವು 10 ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ಇರಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಯಿತು, ಆ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಯಿತು, ಆ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಯಿತು ಅಂತ. ಬಟ್ ಇಂಥ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ PYQsನ ನಾವು ಮರ್ತೋಗ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೋರ್ಸಸ್ನ ಓದಿ ಇದು ತುಂಬ ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಇದರ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಲ್ಲ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಇವತ್ತು. ಬಟ್ ತಿಂಗಳಾನ್ಗಟ್ಲೆ ಓದ್ತಾ ಇರಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಎಷ್ಟು ಓದಿದ್ರು ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ ಅಂದಾಗ ಇದು ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್. You have to remember that. So year after year, as and when you don't clear the exam, you realize where you are going wrong. And at that point of time, it becomes important for you to focus on things like this, which you would have left off during the course of your preparations. Yeah. And then there's this big chunk. This is called optional subject. Somebody tell me what is optional subject? Allondittu mains alli. Yenappa? Helappa. Optional subject. ಯಾವ್ಯಾವುದು ಅಂತನಾ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಬಟ್ ಆಪ್ಷನಲ್ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ನನಗೆ ಯಾರಾದರೂ. ಸಾರಿ, ಸ್ಕೋರಿಂಗ್ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಸ್ಕೋರಿಂಗ್ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್, ಎಸ್. ಅದರ್ ದೆನ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್, subject which we feel confident in, yes. Other than that, what is optional subject? Okay, anyways, optional subject is one of the subjects that UPSC gives you the chance to choose for yourself in mains exam. You have general studies 1, 2, 3 and 4, that is compulsory for everybody. But beyond that, there is 500 marks worth of optional subject. You write a paper on the same subject in morning, you write another paper on the same subject in the evening. Okay? So here you have got broader different subjects like accountancy, economy, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, mathematics, all the languages also. Kannada literature ide, Hindi literature ide, English literature ide. So it's a huge list of subjects. I'll get you the list. Ivattu nanu adana yochane madilla haklike, but I'll get you a list of optional subjects tomorrow, all right? But you can find that online. If you just Google, you'll find it online. So, but what your relationship with optional subject should be something like a love marriage. What does that mean? So basically, even in times of distress, even when things are going very difficult for you, that will be one source of happiness for you to sit and study. And it is not going to let you go. And also it will give you, ಹೇಳಿ. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಅವೈಲೇಬಲ್ ಇದೆ, ಬಟ್ ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ನಾಳೆ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್. ಓಕೆ, ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಗೂಗಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ, ಬಟ್ ನಾನು ನಾಳೆ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಇದನ್ನು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ, ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟು ಯಾವುದಿದೆ ಅಂತ. ಏನು ಹೇಳಿ? ಹಾಂ, ಅದನ್ನು ನೀವು ಗೂಗಲ್ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಿ UPSC CSE ಬರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಬೇಕಾದರೆ. UPSC CSE CSE E for English, E optional, CSE ಆಯಿತಾ? ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ಆಪ್ಷನಲ್ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್. ಇದನ್ನು ನೀವು ಒತ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಫೈಂಡ್ ಇಟ್. ಬಟ್ ನಂದಲೆಸ್ ನಿಮಗೋಸ್ಕರ ನಾನು ನಾಳೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ತೋರಿಸ್ತೀನಿ ನನ್ನ ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರು ಆಪ್ಷನಲ್ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಅವೈಲೇಬಲ್ ಇದೆ ಆನ್ಲೈನು, ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದೂ. ನಾನು ನಿಮಗೆ ಬರೀ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು, ಏನೇನು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಬೇಕು ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ನ ಬರೆಯೋಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ಅಂತ. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ನಿಮಗೆ, ಬಟ್ ಇದರ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಲ್ಲ ನಮಗೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟಿಂಗಲ್ಲಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಮೈ ಆಪ್ಷನಲ್ ವಾಸ್ ಪೊಲಿಟಿಕಲ್ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ರಿಲೇಷನ್ಸ್. Political science and international relations, because I found two different subjects. Political science is a different subject, international relations is a different subject. I didn't want to keep the preparation monotonous. There are different subjects where you read the same topic for the course of whole 2 papers. I wanted that dynamic, because of which I took. And international relations helps you in GS2. GS2 only you get about 4 questions worth of international relations, and GS2 the rest of the paper also about 4 to 5 questions you get from my optional. So that is why I chose PSIR. GS2 ಬಹಳ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ, ಬಟ್ you should have your own reasons. Those own reasons should be, one, you should be interested in the subject first of all, and mentors available ಇದೆಯಾ, books available ಇದೆಯಾ ಅಂತ. I see lot of people who choose books like ಏನಪ್ಪ ಕನ್ನಡ ಲಿಟ್ರೇಚರಲ್ಲಿ ಸೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಇದೆ ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೆ, ಬಟ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೆನ್ಸಿ ಅಂಥದ್ದಿಂತ ತಗೋತವೆ. ಬಟ್ UPSC ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಲ್ಲ ಜನರು. ಅವ್ರು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಗ್ರ್ಯಾಜುಯೇಷನ್ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದೆ ನೋಟ್ಸು ಅದನ್ನೇ ಓದ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಬಟ್ UPSC ಕೇಳೋ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಬೇರೆ. ಇದು ಬ್ಯಾಚುಲರ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಈ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ. ಬ್ಯಾಚುಲರ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ಮಾಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಏನಿದೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತವೆ. ನೀವು ಕಾಲೇಜಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಓದಿರ್ತೀರ, ವಾಟ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆಲ್ ಯು ವುಡ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿಡ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಕಾಲೇಜ್, ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಲಾಟ್ ಮೋರ್ ನುವಾನ್ಸ್ಡ್ ದೆನ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್, ಆಲ್ ದೀಸ್ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಪ್ಷನಲ್ಸ್. ಆಲ್ ರೈಟ್, ಯಾ. ಸೊ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಎನ್ಶ್ಯೂರ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ you have adequate amount of material in the market. There are a lot of people who are taking the subjects. You have to just Google what are the top subjects being chosen by UPSC aspirants. So I suggest you choose the optional which is at least like in the top 7 or top 10. That is what I would suggest. And recent trends in marks. What happens is that a lot of optionals, they're very giving, marks tumba kodtare. But there are different optionals where people used to take because they used to give more marks, like public administration ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಆಪ್ಷನಲ್ಲಿ ಇತ್ತು. ತುಂಬ ಜನ ತಗೋತಾ ಇದ್ರು 10 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ. ಬಟ್ ನಾವು there are barely any takers. Nobody is taking that optional because the marks ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಯಾಕೋ. Nobody knows the reason for it. Even I don't know the reason, but marks ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. So you have to check all of this before choosing one optional. And one more reason, somebody said that it's very rewarding, optional marks. So ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ, in your general studies, how much is the marks of every paper in general studies? GS 1 2 3 4? 250. In 250, for a subject like GS3, everybody is falling in the range of 80 to 100. Most of the people's marks are between 80 to 100. GS4 also, GS4 there's a bit of a wide, that is why I'll talk about the significance of GS4 later. GS2 no aste, it's a small range, about 80 to 100, 110. GS1 is also small range. But in an optional paper, there are people in a single paper getting all the way from 100 to 150, 160. 170 kuda in various cases. So you see how the jump, and it is a competitive examination. Now college ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೆದಿರೋ ಥರ 100 ಮಾರ್ಕಲ್ಲಿ 33 ತೆಗೆದ್ರೆ ಪಾಸು ಅಂತ ಇಲ್ಲ. That is no more the case. You're competing with the person next to you. Even if you get 95, if there are more than 1000 people getting more than 95, then you are out of the list. So this difference makes a massive, massive, massive difference in your final score. That is why picking the right optional is important. Okay? Make sense? Any doubts here with respect to optional? You can change the optional in next attempts, but why would you want to? Just pick the optional which after doing extensive amount of research. Because see, optional takes a lot of time to prepare. Most of your effort is going to go here because of the marks. I told you, you have to spend most amount of time where you get most marks. You see, we all know that, but none of us pay enough attention to how important these basic stuffs are. ನಾನು ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದೆಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ, ಆದರೂ ತುಂಬ ಜನ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿನ ಓದ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕುತ್ಕೊಂಡೇ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. But based on the previous year question trends, you have to study certain subjects on the basis of how much of marks they are giving you, all right? Which optional subject will be useful for general studies preparation as well? There are see, my optional political science and international relations can help you in general studies too. If you take history optional, it might help you a good chunk in history paper 1. If you take economy optional, it will help you in GS3, which is economy, so on and so forth. So this shall be one of the criteria if it is going to help you in general studies or not. But I would suggest there has to be some germane interest in you to study the subjects and if the source is available in the market. I think that should be the criteria. But as about general studies, there are a good chunk of subjects which will help you in general studies, such as history, geography, economy, PSIR, and sociology. That's that. There might be many more which I'm not able to recall, but that is my answer for now. And then current affairs. Idon talenovappa innondu. Lot of people, what is current affairs? What is current affairs? Present ಏನು ನಡೀತದೆ ಅಂತ. ಅದು ನಡೀತಾನೇ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಮುಂಚೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ. Before 2020, they were not asking a lot of current affairs based questions. But now they have increased it significantly. So how do we prepare for this? You will have questions. Should I read newspaper every day? ಪ್ರತಿ ದಿನ ಕುತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಓದಬೇಕಾ ಪೇಪರು? And especially starting ಏನು ಹೇಳಿ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಫೇರ್ಸ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಫೇರ್ಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಇವಾಗ ಏನೇನು ನಡೀತದೆ ಅಂತ. ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಹುಡುಕಿದ್ರೆ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. ವಾಟ್ ಫೋನ್ ಡು ಯು ಯೂಸ್? ನೀವು ಯಾವ ಥರ ತಿಳ್ಕೊತೀರಾ? ಗೂಗಲಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ನೀವು? ಹೌದಾ? ಈ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಮುಗಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ 1/4 ಗಂಟೆ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಓಕೆ, ನಿಮ್ಗೇನು ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೆ? ಖಂಡಿತ ಟೈಮ್ ಇದೆಯಾ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ? ಖಂಡಿತ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಮುಗಿಸ್ಬಿಡ್ಲಿ, ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಕುತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ. ಓಕೆ, ಬಟ್ ಇದು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. ನೀವು ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಪೇಪರು ಬ್ರೈಲ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ಸಿಗಂಗಿದ್ರೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಬೋದು. ಓಕೆ, ಬಟ್ ನನಗೆ ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಬಹಳ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಇದೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾನು ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಹಾಂ, ಇವಾಗ 6:30 ಇದೆ, 7:15 ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಮುಗಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಅರ್ಧ ಗಂಟೆ ಏನಿದೆ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾನು ಆರಾಮಾಗಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ. ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ, ಪರ್ಫೆಕ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ಶುಡ್ ಐ ರೀಡ್ ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಪೇಪರ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಡೇ? ಹಾಂ ಹೇಳಿ. So that is there. This is one common doubt. What content am I supposed to exactly read in newspaper? There is something called editorial as well. Basically, whatever would have happened, some author of the newspaper would take and would write in his own words what he thinks about that specific news. That is there. I'll come to that. What exactly are you supposed to read? And then, should I make notes of these newspaper? Pratidina, every day, whatever is happening in the newspaper, should I make a separate notes out of it? That is one more question that people, that comes with people. And there are these certain monthly compilations this academy also provides, and different academies also provide, where whatever happened in the last 30 days of the month, they will bring it out in the printed format. Should I read just that? And at the end of the year, just before prelims, about 3 months before prelims, sometime during February, you will get complete year's worth of current affairs by some famous institutions, such as Vision IAS don barutte, PT360 ಕೇಳಿದಿರಲ್ಲ Vision IAS ಎಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಂ, ಸೊ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು PT365 ಅಂತ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. I think this academy also provides, but I'm not really sure. Different academies provide. Should I read that? ಈ questions ಎಲ್ಲ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರ್ತವೆ ತಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ. So in that instance, what I should do is that, what do you think I should do when there are so many different subjects to read? Yeah, you'll be clueless. This is what I felt as well, starting, because I started reading everything at the end of it and none of it made sense at the end of the day. So reading newspaper should be made as a habit in itself. Every day, even if you do not understand, I want you to read newspaper. Everything, just read whatever comes to your mind. Ill murder aitu, ill kole aitu, odri paragilla. Exam inda relevant illa, but I want you to read it. Just give a broad overview of how to read, in understanding to read the newspaper. After some amount of time, after about weeks and months of stuff, while you are reading all the static subjects, while you are reading the PYQs, you will realize, okay, this is important. Okay, it's in 2024, this person was murdered, they didn't ask in the prelims question. Oh, okay, I shouldn't read about murder. I shouldn't read about robbery. So all these questions will come to you, all these answers will come to you. So use previous year questions. Anywhere you have doubt, use previous year questions. See, okay, in the previous year question, was question of this nature asked in the exam or not? If so, and you find that news in the newspaper, please read. There was something called Women's Reservation Bill anta ondittu. 33% of reservation is provided in Lok Sabha for women from next election. That was some news. You read in the newspaper. UPSC has been asking a lot about legislature and Lok Sabha. So this news becomes important. This is how I glean. This is how I try to understand. But at the starting, you will make these mistakes. You wouldn't know what to read in the paper, but I still want you to read it just so that you get understanding of different languages of the newspaper, okay? You're bound to make mistakes initially, but that is okay. And then, once you're reading the newspaper, and then at the end of the month, you have an option. You can either take a compilation of institutes. Generally, these people give news only which is relevant to the exam. So now you can compare, okay, I think I read this in the newspaper last month. Now I see this in the institute's compilation also. Now I know that whatever they have given and whatever I have read is important. So from next month, you can leave those things which you used to study but which is not shown in these institutes and continue to focus more on whatever these institutes are providing. Am I making sense? Does it make sense? That is one way to go about, where you read monthly compilation. I suggest you start with that. Start reading monthly compilation. And at the year end also, one compilation will be given. You can just glance through. Okay, whatever has happened, whatever I studied, is it reflected here? It helps you revise a lot on whatever has happened and whatever is given. Okay, this is how you should approach. But I don't think you should, leave the newspaper completely. You should ideally read newspaper. You don't need to make any notes on it. One time while making notes, in my first attempt, there was this book which I had of 150 pages. I made notes out of it, and my notes was 300 pages. So what is the point? The whole point of notes is to ensure that you are making your studies easier. And I'll write in depth about I'll explain in depth about how we should make notes. But this is about current affairs. Stay aware using your newspapers, then read the monthly end compilation. And at the end of it, just before prelims, just glance through your year-end compilation that the institutes give. Okay? Is this clear? Perfect. This is a lot, right? There's too much I'm saying and this is too much to grasp inside the head. No? Are you guys understanding everything? Are you guys able to, understand the significance of different things? Okay, cool. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಮುಗಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಆಚೆಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಲ್ಲ, ಏನಪ್ಪ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ತಲೆ ಕಿವಿ ಕುಯ್ದುಬಿಟ್ರು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಂಗಿದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ ಕೇಳ್ಬಿಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲ. So coaching and mentorship. So you have come to the academy. The whole goal of coaching is to ensure that you are given a specific direction and they teach you about everything. You can trust them about what the lessons are being taught about different subjects. And as about mentorship in concert, that is different from coaching, where you are given a personalized guidance. If you have a specific question, you can go to them and they'll answer those questions as to how to study and everything. So basically, I'm standing in here as a mentorship capacity, even though I'm a guest lecturer here. You have a doubt, I'll answer the questions. That is the role of mentoring. All right? Yeah. And then mock test. Have you heard of it? What is mock tests? What is mock tests? Sorry?
Week-wise test.
Sorry?
Week-wise
Week-wise
test.
test. Anybody here? Mock test. Have you heard of this term? What is it? It's okay. Wrong answers are completely fine. What is mock test? Mock test andre basically exam alli ಏನು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿರ್ತವೆ, they will try to simulate it. They will try to make a carbon copy of it, so to speak. ಇವಾಗ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಕೇಳೋಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. You have got all these institutions, they come up with their own question papers of the exam so that you get to practice it. That is mock test. Mock andre copying. They are copying the test. Ashte. So mock test, what is the role of mock test? One, as I mentioned earlier, so mock tests have two different significance from prelims and mains point of view. From prelims point of view, I'll explain in detail tomorrow. But from mains point of view, what is the significance of mock test? I've already told you. You took a test today in the morning, a few minutes ago, and you saw how important it is to write test. How important it is to write answers, because it is going to make your brain work. That is the importance of mock test for mains. For prelims point of view, I'll explain in detail tomorrow. Beyond that, it will teach you exactly how pressurized you feel in the exam hall, how much your hand might be paining. This happens once you write mains. ಇಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಬಂಪ್ ಬರೋಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಆಗ್ತವೆ. So all of this experience is something that you will feel while taking the mock tests, okay? And it will help you make a lot of mistakes. People were writing in essay format. Now I told that you have to write in point format. All of these mistakes. And also you should start with an introduction. You should end with a conclusion. All of this is something that you realize by writing more and more mock test, okay? So that is the use of mock test when it comes to mains. For prelims, I'll write a detailed strategy tomorrow. Yeah. How do you use them? Yeah, this can be a little bit advanced, but I'll still tell you. So you are writing the test now. How do you understand whether what I've written is correct or not? You should get to know that, right? But how? So there is one way. One, you write mock test of institutes and you give it back to them, and they will evaluate it to you. But one of the problems which we see in that is that there are so many aspirants, but there are so less evaluators in the institutes. One evaluator might need to evaluate about 10 questions in a day. It's very stressful for him. So he might not really evaluate to the extent that you want him to evaluate, and because of which you might not get proper feedback that you guys deserve. So what is the better way? What you can do is that you can go to these online websites of different institutes. ಈ ಟಾಪರ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇರ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, they would have written, okay, even I'm a topper apparently. Yeah, so all these toppers ಇರ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, so they would have written all these answers for institutes. Just take it, download it. You see the questions, try to answer it on your own. Write the questions in a time format. And then after that, you compare your answer with that of the topper's answer. That is the best way to start writing good answers. Does this make sense? You write those answers on your own, then you compare your answers with the toppers, okay? Even in that process, taking mock tests, as I've told you, taking mock tests takes a different sets of skill set. One, you have to understand the question, okay? Once you have to understand the question, that is one main challenge. Second is trying to recall what you have studied. That is whole another challenge. What is third one? Structuring the answers. That is whole another challenge. Then doing it in a time constraint format. If you sit and start trying to, overcome all these challenges at once, it can get very difficult. It will get very chaotic. So you have to try to deal with them one by one. First time what happens is you look at a question, you take your book out. What you have studied. You try to see the book and then write answers. That's what I want you to do first, because whatever is given in the book, you can't just write the same thing in the paper, because the question might demand something different, right? ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ರಿಟನ್ ಕಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೆ ನಾನು, ಕಮೆಂಟ್ ಆನ್ ಯುವರ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸಸ್ ಅಂತ. ವಾಟ್ ಇಫ್ ಐ ಚೇಂಜ್ ದಟ್ ವರ್ಡ್ ಅ ಬಿಟ್? ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಕ್ರಿಟಿಕಲಿ ಅನಲೈಸ್ ಯುವರ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಸೋ ಫಾರ್. ಕ್ರಿಟಿಕಲಿ ಅನಲೈಸ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಪಾಸಿಟಿವ್ಸ್ ಬರೀರಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಲೈಫ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಆಸ್ ವೆಲ್ ಆಸ್ ನೆಗೆಟಿವ್ಸ್. there might be different word that I might have. So just by reading the book, you cannot answer these questions. You need to understand the questions. So keep your book in front of you. Let your first challenge be, I'll understand the question, then I'll write. So that stress of having to memorize your books, it will be gone, because the book isn't right in front of you. Once you hone the skill of trying to understand the question and writing it, then keep the book aside. Take some other questions and write it without having to look at the book, okay? Once that skill is developed, then you keep a timer. Then write the questions in a time constraint format. This is how you do layer by layer, okay? Does this make sense? Perfect. But this is something that you will do down the line, but I'm just giving you a brief overview of what to look forward to. Yeah. And then some institutes, what they do is that while you guys write mocks for institutes, the first one, what I said, you download the online copy, you look at their answers, questions, and then you write answers. That is something that I said first. Second layer is the Rajkumar Academy or a different academy you might join might provide you mock tests. You write the mock tests. There you go to the synopsis. Synopsis basically they'll give you the model answers for all their questions. Model answers kodtare. So what you do is that you compare your answers with theirs. It is almost like looking at toppers' answers, but here the institutes have created it. This is something that you need to do because you have to realize your mistakes. You have to look at what is happening and then see where improvement is needed. Are you not able to give a lot of content to it? For example, tell me about the story of Mahatma Gandhi and the Kelidranku. A simple question. You start all the way from that he was in South Africa, then he came to India, he did salt satyagraha, he gave us independence. this is something that you might write. But in synopsis, you might see there is something different movements that you have done in which here you went to jail, all of that. So you see that was the demand of the question, but you didn't meet that. So there, what is the problem? It is content lacking. You have to understand, okay, whatever I have written, my content is lacking. If you are not able to write it in 7 minutes, then your time is lacking. And lastly, you are completely gone away from the demand of the question. Comment anta kelidru, critical analysis anta kelidru, but you haven't written any negative. That is, you are not meeting the demand of the questions. All of these is something that you sit and analyze while you give the mock tests. This is all. If I were to reduce this whole journey in few steps, it's about learning from mistakes as soon as possible and as effectively as possible. I think this whole process is about learning from your mistakes. There is nobody who has not made mistakes. I'm here to ensure that the mistakes that you're making, you make it sooner, you make it quicker, and you learn from them effectively. Okay? That's what I want you to do. All right. So this is done. You guys understood the role of mock tests? For prelims, I'll tell you properly because there's a different strategy for prelims altogether about mock tests. I'll tell that in detail tomorrow. But this is for mains. And then language barriers. Yes. A lot of us feel that it's very difficult for us to write in English and difficult for us to read newspaper and understand. Even I can't understand some editorials in papers now. That is a genuine concern. A lot of people have this issue who feel that it is very difficult. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's go. Yes. Few people believe that I cannot read and write English at a fast pace. This issue is you are bound to face from in the starting of this journey. I also face this quite a lot. I've had a lot of students who are in the arts and they could understand all these different newspapers, notes in a very easy manner. See, this has a very generic solution. It comes by practice. There is no shortcut to this. Just keep on studying. I wasn't speaking this way before also. This English, okay, I'll give you a small example. In my college days, I just wanted to explore. Huchanago ankolli janru, I don't care, but I just wanted to explore life. So what happened was that I just started joining clubs left and right. Munche ಈ ಥರ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಗುಳ್ಳೆಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಬಂದಿತ್ತು. I wanted to join fashion club of college. Just go, give it a try anta. And then after that, there is this literature club in college. So I went there also. But they had an audition. ಈ ಥರ big stage ittu. And then you're supposed to sit here all the way from left to right. There are 5 chairs which are put up. And I sat in one of the chairs. And they gave a debate question. It was something about AI and technology, how it is changing the world. This person right next to me started talking so fast I couldn't understand even a word of what he was saying. He was just blabbering some random stuff. And then it just finally came to me, I'm all sweaty, I don't know what to do, I couldn't even think of a word. He just said something like, why do you think AI is helping this world right now? I just changed the sentence and I told him the same question in written because I didn't know what else to say. And then after that, finally said, you can go, and I stormed out of the room. And then later we became friends, and I didn't get into the literature club for obvious reasons. And then he told me that, dude, I had, come to this literature club. You didn't take me. What is this? And he told me that, yeah, there were 20 people who had come to the club. I selected 19 of them. I'm like, yeah, I'm that one dude whom you didn't select. So from then, I just try to make sure that I read newspapers, just put myself out there. That is all I want you guys to do as well. Just read paper, read books. This skill will come to you. It doesn't happen overnight. Your job is to read papers now, read books now. And it is going to be in English. This skill is something that you are going to learn. And then now technology has become more advanced. If you do not understand something, go and ask ChatGPT. Please explain this to me in simpler words. It is going to do it to you. Okay? Leverage it. And don't worry, language barriers, you can completely overcome it. I've overcome it as well. It takes some time, but it's okay. You can get there, all right? Okay. Yeah, this is still challenging for me even till date. I don't understand half the stuff they write. Reading editorials in the papers. But you will get there. You will try to understand most of them. And then certain background specific issues. How many of you are from arts background? Yeah, CSAT is going to be challenging. CSAT might be, I'm an engineer, I found it to be challenging. CSAT, but the beauty of it is that there is comprehension. CSAT is basically your paper 2 of prelims. Okay, that is something that we are clear about. CSAT is paper 2 of prelims. It's almost like I'm looking at robots. I'm asking is CSAT paper 2, people are like this. Like say yes. Yes, CSAT is paper 2 of prelims. Here you have got reading comprehension. They'll give you a passage, technical English, which you have to read and you have to try answer questions. And second, you have got your mathematics, which you have to answer. And then lastly, reasoning ability. Basically, they'll say Somu is walking in each direction for 20 kilometers, then he'll take north for 40 kilometers, then he moves this side. At what distance or direction? That is easy for everybody. That is something that you can solve. So that barrier will be there. We have ways to overcome it. There are a good chunk of people who have had arts background and who have gotten more than 110, 120 in CSAT also. So that problem can be solved. And tomorrow I'm taking a class on CSAT for everybody. I'll tell you how to approach the subject, okay? My CSAT, I failed in CSAT twice, by the way. This year I ended up getting about 110 or 115 or something. And that wasn't through maths. Even I'm shitty at maths, even though I'm a engineer. So it was through logic and comprehension. I'll tell you how exactly to approach that, all right? So that is taken care of. And then general study subject how many are you from science or engineering background? Yeah. For you guys, see, we always think more logically. We think about binary 1, 0 or whatever. We don't know how to write things in an artistic manner. We don't write essays. That is something that is very relevant for art students. So for us, getting into this journey, writing these papers gets quite difficult. We don't know how exactly to think across these lines. So, but this again comes through practice down the line, all right? You don't have to worry much about that. This is the situation where I was also at. And this is something that is going to come to you down the line. And then herd mentality. What is herd mentality? Can anybody tell me that? Blindly following the crowd. My friend is doing so and so, I'll also do the same thing. My friend is reading this one book that some academy told. I'm going to also read the same book. And same decisions is not just about the books, even about joining library, taking specific mock tests. There are a good chunk of people who fall prey to that. So what do you think is the solution to escape ourselves from this herd mentality and to effectively approach this exam? If you can think of it, I would love to hear an answer from you. Self-study, yes. Self-study, yes. But how do you know what you are studying is right or not? Absolutely. You're going to analyze yourself. On what factors will you analyze? How do you know what you're thinking is right? Yes. Yes. And in addition to that, what else can you do to get proper objective feedback? What can you do? One is test series. Other than that, what do you have to look at? To get what you're doing is right or not, how do you see? PYQs, absolutely, that is gold. Other than that, what else can we look at? Come on, let's think. Evaluating answers, yes. Beyond that, what else can we think of? Have you seen topper talks? Where people come and tell their sources and their different approaches. That could be one genuine source. And as stated, PYQs and test series. These are the things you got to look at. Am I doing something right or wrong? Should be analyzed across these different fronts, okay? Not what your friend is doing. You and your friend are both sitting and studying and trying to clear this exam. That is something that you need to understand. So, because this is very easy to fall into. I'm showing all of these traps because this is very easy to fall into. I want you guys to keep it in mind. I want you guys to hold on to this PDF and keep it with you, and when and where you face these issues. Study timetable also. I'm a typical example. I used to study in the morning. One of my friend used to study for about 12 hours and used to do so late into the night. It was helpful to him. So I also started studying late into the night, only to realize I was sleep deprived after 3 days and I couldn't concentrate anymore. So it's very important to see whatever you're doing, is it right for you? Because you are the one who's trying to clear this exam. A CSAT strategy for a science student would be completely different from a CSAT strategy for an art student. You see? So that pretty much applies for everything else as well. Choosing library, the time of studying, the sources, and all of these comes through test series, PYQs, topper stocks, okay? This has to be your direction and your coaching institute, of course. Yes, and mental health also. Late into the night, if you study, what happens is that you lose sleep and you start getting anxiety and depression and everything. So that is also your feedback mechanism. You need to understand what you are trying to do. And one-stop shop mentality. What is this one-stop shop mentality? That I'll go to specific so-and-so institute and I'll do only what they'll tell me. And I won't do anything else. I won't look anywhere else. I've seen the topper talk of one topper. Whatever he says I'll do, I won't look at anything. I just told you that whatever works for them, works for them. You have to look at everybody. Sabka suno, apna karo. You have to listen to 100 people and then start to see what is working out for you. And how do you figure out what is working out for you? How do you figure out what is working out for you? Sorry? What is self-evaluation? We just talked about it. I want you to ingrain this inside your head. How do you figure out what is right, what is wrong? PYQs, test series, all of this is what will help you at the end of the day, because it is very easy to fall into this trap of following. Yeah, I found this picture somewhere. This is a shampoo, detergent, motor oil, everything in one. I don't want you to consider this as a source of UPSC. Don't go to just one specific person and try to find every single, information out of them. Okay? There's a different strategy for prelims. There are certain people who are very much, what do you say? There's specific finesse in prelims, but they might be very difficult in mains. I can provide you a strategy for prelims, but I might not be that great of a person for mains. I can acknowledge that here. And I think I'm good at interview. So you can listen to me for prelims, but might not be so much for mains. And definitely I can provide you some guidance for interview. It's like that. So you have to see who is doing good in what subject, and then you can seek better, guidance from them. And one more suggestion is that the marks of these online toppers are available. You can just Google them, you'll see their marks. You can compare, okay, is this person has scored so-and-so in GS1 subject, so I can actually take a strategy. So this is one more thing that you guys can follow. See how much score these people have scored, and then you watch their videos and see, okay, this is something that I can inculcate, all right? That is something that you guys can do. And then, what we end up becoming is that we start collecting so much of books instead of becoming collectors of district. As I said, I had so many books for history. At the end of that, there was just 2-3 questions and I couldn't even answer them. Why does that happen? Why do you think it happens? Why do you think collect so many books and despite all of that, we do not clear exam? Because one, somebody was saying something. You get mix of everything, yes, sorry? Confusion, yes. Confusion, how exactly?
While learning the boss books,
Mm-hmm.
will trigger to our mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We can't even answer one question itself.
Mm-hmm. True. This is the basic reason. What we think is that more books we have, we can have more knowledge and we can get more marks. That is our idea, right? If we read more books, we'll get more knowledge. And one more reason why we start gathering more and more books is that because you see, you're reading Lakshmikant, let's say, I told you, right, this Indian polity book, and you see your friend is reading a bigger book with a different name. You're like, hey, he's reading so much of books, there's full colors highlighted and all he has used. And you'll think that, you know what, I haven't read that book, so I'm going to fail in this exam. So you start reading that book. The fear of missing out. The fear that someone else is reading more than I am reading. So that will make you read more and more books. And again, you are reading a specific book, you have read it for more than 3-4 months, and then you go watch a topper's videos and they ask you to read something else. So you will throw this book away and then you'll start reading that book. And then some other topper says, and then you'll start reading that book. That is one more reason why you start collecting more and more books. So here in this case, how do we overcome this exactly? What do you think we can do in order to make sure that we do not read a lot of books? It comes back to this. The same old friend, previous year questions. You pick a specific previous year questions. I told you, right, there are these compilations of history, economy and everything. You see, and you open a specific book. For example, this Lakshmikant that I said. Polity question kelidare. They've asked these 3 questions. Can I answer these questions using the information in this book? Can I answer these questions using the informations given in this book? If the answer is yes, okay. Even if I'm able to answer about 70 to 80% of it, it's a very good book. If I'm not able to find the answer to these questions, then what is the point of me reading that book, right? So PYQ acts as a guiding light. I want you to remember this. This word gets repeated over and again and again and again in this slide. I want you guys to remember PYQs and test series. Okay. Should I make notes? What is the use of notes? Tell me that first. Why do you think we should make notes? I want to hear this from you so far on the basis of whatever.
You get a short recap.
Sorry?
You get a short recap.
You get a short recap. Good. Yeah, my mistake. You learned from it. Yeah.
For the quick revision.
Sorry?
For the quick revision.
For the quick revision. Absolutely. Perfect. That is very essential in the days leading up to the exam. You have got exam in 2 days. You'll have to revise quickly, right? That book, in order to study, might have taken 2-3 weeks of the first go, but you can't spend 2-3 weeks just before the exam. You have barely 2 hours or 3 hours for one subject. So quick revision is something that will be highly helpful, and that happens while note making. What are the other advantages of making your own notes? You will remember it for a longer time because it is your own personal notes. You have written it down. You have aggregated the data together. You have put in your own effort. That is bound to sit in your head for a long period of time. That is one other advantages. What else? What else are the advantages? Sorry? It will boost your confidence. Having our own notes, the confidence that, you know what, I have taken information from all the different places and I've put it on my own. This is my own notes. I can publish these notes. That confidence helps you answer these questions. What else? Good, that's a lot of suggestions. Nice, I really like it. And then in addition to this, I've told you about current affairs, right? Current affairs, they keep on building again and again. Every day something new is happening. If you have your own notes, you can take that current affairs and you can just add it to your notes. And you don't have to go on reading more and more newspaper. You don't have to come back and revise newspapers. You can just look at your notes. It will be integrated. When that is integrated, your notes will be very fresh and it will be easy for you to revise also. Does this make sense? Do you see why exactly we might need notes? But then again, there is a caveat. Caveat means there is a bit of a condition here. These are the reasons, as you guys have rightly mentioned. It helps you revise quicker and everything. Do you think it is worthy to make notes of a book which is so important and where every single page is important? Why? Why not?
You might miss some information.
We might miss some information, absolutely one. And you will have to write and copy every single page because every single page is important. So what can you do in those instances? You take a highlighter and highlight those important points. So you have two options. One, you make your own notes, or you highlight in the same pages. But how do you know what is important and what is not important there? Previous year questions. You come back to previous year questions. You look at previous year questions, see what is important, and then you highlight them. That is how you're supposed to approach the studies, all right? Okay, I'm preferring you guys make digital notes if you have the option. What do you think are the advantages of making digital notes on a tablet or an iPad or a computer? What do you think? Why do you think you should make digital notes as opposed to writing on a piece of paper if you have the opportunity? Why? Think. Sorry?
Easy to update.
Easy to update, absolutely. Easy to update. You'll have more space, extra pages, easy. What else? If you have the option, that is. You can use all these color codes and everything, add images. So it becomes very exciting for you. That is one advantage. But manual notes, I have my GS3 notes that I've made is completely manual. I've made it more colorful and all while writing, different colors. It helps me remember. So online and offline, it's better. But if you have the option to choose it on an iPad or on a laptop, I would suggest you go for it. But offline is also well. But given that you understand what is important, do not start making notes unless you know if I'm writing is important or not. That is really important. Unless what's going to happen, you're going to make my mistake. 150 pages subject, I ended up making notes for 200 pages. So you have to know what is important. And when do you get to know what is important? At least when you read that book once or twice and have looked at the previous year questions, okay? That is when you start making notes. It is going to take time for you to make notes. Initially, you try to get adjusted to what the subjects are. All right? Am I making sense? Yes? Everybody? Okay. Yeah, this is something that is evident through and obvious throughout the course of this lecture. Making mistakes. We are bound to make a lot of mistakes throughout this course of preparation, and your role is to ensure that you learn from them. And how do you learn from them? Again, PYQs, test series. These are the mantra. Just make mistakes. Make sure that you make these mistakes as early as possible. Now is the time. Next few weeks and months, this is when you make mistakes. When you make mistakes, come back to this PDF and see what mistakes are you doing. And the solution, PYQs and test series and toppers talks. Okay? And of course, the test series that the toppers have already written, you have to sit and analyze. That is what it comes down to. All right? So far, so good? Okay. Okay. See, as I said, mock tests reveal mistakes. Ask why you are making mistakes. Are you not able to understand the question properly? Is the information of the questions not adequate? Have I not studied enough? Have I not revised enough? So these are the questions that you have to ask yourself. The winners of these exams are those who realize their mistakes sooner and who learn from those mistakes. Everybody has made mistakes in this process. The only people that have cleared this exam are those who have learned from those mistakes. Okay, I want you to remember that. Okay, now let's try to understand, what do you think is going to happen when you open the book and you start learning? I'm going to give you a book. I'm going to tell you, you know what? Read this completely. I'm going to give you one page on, let's say, Mauryan Empire or Gandhiji. I'll give you a page on Gandhiji. I want you to read it. While reading it, do you think you can remember it? Why not? Why can you not remember it? Give me reasons. Why does it get so difficult for us to remember it? Sorry? Memory power. Yes, memory power. Other than that, what are the different reasons? Focus. Especially in this digital era where your Instagram is just a click away, it gets very difficult. Other than that? Distractions, yes. Then? Because you read something so new for the first time, your brain takes time to revise. It's almost like absorbing water in a sponge. The moment you put a sponge in a water, it is not going to absorb everything in the first go. You have to dip it again to absorb more, again and again. So whatever you learn first, you're not going to retain it for a long period of time. Even this class, whatever I'm explaining, some of it might sit inside your head. But if I come back and ask the questions of this lecture 3 days from now, most of you might not remember some parts of it, right? This is not your mistake. This is how human brain is. This is how God has created us. So, but we have to figure out a hack, a way out of this. And how shall we do that? By understanding this. A scientist called Ebbinghaus has come up with this curve. He has basically explained that when you read something for the first time, while you're reading, you will remember 100% of it. If I ask you to read a line, you will remember 100% of that line. But as the days pass, after one day, you will remember probably 80% of it, no, 60% of it. After 3 days, you will remember only 20% of things. And after about 6 days, you will barely remember anything. Does this make sense? Whatever you read now, in 6 days, it's very difficult to remember. Does it make sense? This is something that you guys are going to face throughout the course of this exam. You will keep on reading history, then after finishing history, you will jump to other subject, right? Because you have finished studying history, you will go to geography. You will read geography, you will read economy, you will read polity, you will read everything. Then you come back to revise your history. You open first page, you will like, what is this? I've never read this in my entire life. That is what you're going to feel because you would have already forgotten it. Does it make sense? You would have already forgotten it. Everybody faces the same issue. I have faced it, lost 3 attempts. So how can you hack this? Revision. What is revision? Tell me that. What is recalling? I want you to tell me. Sorry? Reading again and again. Reading again and again. What happens when you read again and again? Sorry? Somehow it will be fixed inside our brain. So, sorry to spoil the party for you guys. That is not how the brain works. Memory muscles. In your finger, when you're writing. But to write, it has to be inside your brain, right? That will come there. That will come once you're trying to write answer. But reading again and again is not the solution for this. I'll tell you why. I'll explain through a simple concept. So what happens is that when you read something, you are training your brain to absorb information inside your brain, right? And then you forget. Ebbinghaus curve. Then you forget in 6-7 days. But then you try to read again, you're still trying to program it inside your brain. But what is going to happen in the exam hall? You have to write it down. You have to retrieve it from your brain. Where are you programming that? You are just teaching your brain how to take in more information. There is input of information inside your head. We are not training ourselves to output information at all. You see the problem here? That is one skill. There is a different skill set of trying to write it down on a piece of paper. That is whole another different skill set, but we'll come to that later. But let's try to understand how to learn and keep the information inside your brain, okay? So, scientists have come up with something called spaced repetition. So basically, whenever the curve is going down, as you can see here, the moment that you start forgetting something, you read it again. And then the moment it starts dipping down, you read it again. Then it starts dipping down, you read it again. And this you're just not reading, as one of our batchmates here pointed out. You do not just start reading. What you instead do is that you recall the information. Let's say that today I give you that piece of paper, right, about Gandhi. You read about it, all right? Then 2 days later, you close it. And then you try to actively recall, okay, first line was this, or Gandhi, Gandhi was born in 1862 in Porbandar, and then he went to South Africa, and then he came back to India. You do all of that actively without looking at the paper. But somewhere your brain will feel that pressure, right? That I'm not able to recall information. That pressure is where your memory is being developed. That pressure is important. So while you're trying to recall, I want you to recall everything until the last line. Try to recall. Try is the key word. Try to recall. Even if you're not able to recall, it's okay. Put that pressure on your brain. Try to recall until the last line. Throw that paper away. After that, whatever you couldn't recall, go and read that. This is how you effectively store information inside your brain. Got it? You recall actively, then you recall actively, and then you go and read the same thing again. Okay? Whatever you have missed. Does this make sense? Does this make sense? And you do this in a spaced format. You read today. It's called spaced repetition because you try to repeat the same old concepts in some time format. I'll finish this, then we can carry the rest of it in tomorrow's session, okay? Is the session boring for you, or do you think this is helpful? This is helpful? Okay. You read something today, and then you read it after 2 days, and then you read it after 4 days. Then you multiply it by 2 after 8 days, 16, 1 month, 2 months, 4 months, 8 months, 16 months. You get the point? Once you do that in that spaced amount of time, it helps you retain a lot. I use this specifically in the attempt which I cleared. So these are a list of topics. I've made a digital notes of it. This might sound a little bit strenuous and stressful, but bear with me. It's not stressful. Okay. Yeah. So if you're not able to see properly, I've listed down the topics that I've read. And this is the date of exam, which I've put inside my head. And this is the date of first learning. When did I read it for the first time? Ideally, I would keep a small chunk on every single day. Because in my second day, I have to read what I studied today as well as the new stuff of that day, right? And then on my fourth day, I'll have 2 more extra things to read, correct? And on my 8th day, I'll have so many more extra things. So you do not overload yourself. So I read something today, 1 day, then I repeat the same thing on the 3rd day, then 8, 15, 30, 60, 120 days, so on and so forth. I used to keep a track of it using this timeline. I see something on that specific day, once I've read it, I'll mark it in green. This helps. This did help me in my attempt, wherein I could store a lot of information inside my brain. And ideally, I would suggest you do this for a subject like optionals, where you have to retain a lot of importance. And why is optional more important again? More scoring. That is why you invest so much of energy in a subject like this. Make sense? Yeah. Understood how exactly spaced repetition helps and how to effectively retain information inside your head? Because this will reward you. When will this reward you? In those last few weeks of the exam when you have to try to recall so much of information. Just imagine if you don't do any of this, you have to open the book and everything seems fresh. That's a very traumatic information, isn't it? Traumatic instance, isn't it? Yeah? All right. I think we'll finish this slide. Yeah, we'll finish this slide and we'll close it. I think we are late. We'll carry on the rest of it tomorrow, all right? So I'm going to teach you something more about studying. One was spaced repetition. And because you guys have to sit all the way for 10, 12 hours on a daily basis, or 8 to 10 hours, depending on you. You literally sit and start reading so much. How do you ensure that you are being productive? How do you ensure that whatever you are trying to read is going inside your brain? That is important, right? So how do we do that? There are different techniques. See, brain tries to learn some new information only when it asks itself a lot of questions. You need to ask yourself why. Let's assume that if somebody walks inside and starts shouting something, your natural question is why, right? Then you are invested in him. You need to listen to him. Same thing goes for these concepts also. If somebody starts coming and telling you about Kautilya or Chandragupta Maurya, what reason do you have to understand? There has to be some interest inside you, right? And that interest comes when you start asking questions. Why? And how can you ask yourself why? There are these certain websites of coaching institutes which post your previous year question or MCQs, the mock test which I told you. They'll post like 5 questions of prelims or 10 questions of prelims. I want you to go answer that questions on a daily basis. It will take barely 5 minutes of your day, not even that. If you go and answer it, now there's a question, okay, this question was asked and I'm curious now what is the answer. That will help you retain information. And if you do that on a daily basis, it is going to add up and compound over the course of your journey. Does this make sense? Got the point? Okay. And then if you can free time, you can watch some lecture videos or podcasts of different topics that you might be interested in. What is happening in Russia-Ukraine war, or Israel-Palestine, or the recent Nepal protests are happening. You might have heard of it somewhere in the news. So watching different podcasts or videos, it will give you graphic images on the screen and help you retain information better. That is one more way to go about it. And there's something called Pomodoro technique. Have you heard of it? Pomodoro technique. Pomodoro technique is basically spacing out your studies. The study says that while you're trying to study, ಹೇಳಿವ್ರೆ Pomodoro technique, POMODORO, Pomodoro technique. So in this technique, what happens is that your brain, it's very active in the morning. And so the first go when you sit in front of a book, you can try to understand, but after some point of time, feels very lethargic and lazy. It feels very difficult to put in more information. Why does this happen? Because your brain is an organ which also gets tired, right? So you have to give some space in between studies. That specific amount of time, the science has said that you should study for 25 minutes. After that, you should take break for 5 minutes. And then you should study for 25 minutes again and then take break for 5 minutes. These 5 minutes worth of break will give you that energy to study for the next 25 minutes again. This helps you study for a longer period of time. Because if you just randomly sit and keep on studying, book ಎದುರುಗಡೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, you will keep on studying, but nothing will be going inside your head. That is what will happen. People say that, you know what, I've studied for 12 hours, 14 hours, but effectively how much of information you are retaining. So it is factors like this, Pomodoro technique like this, which will help you in order to prolong your studies. And there is something called Feynman technique. Feynman technique is just a fancy word to explain the stuff to you. If you know a concept, if you start explaining to your friend, it will help you retain it a lot stronger. So if you have any study circle, Feynman, F-E-Y-N, M-A-N, Feynman technique. So if you start explaining the concepts to others around you, it helps you a lot. If you have a study circle, if you know somebody in the library. How many of you have joined the library? Any library? No. How many of you are living in a hostel or a PG? Okay, good chunk of people. Your roommates or anybody might be preparing for exams as well, right? If they are preparing, do discuss with them. That will help you retain information, okay? Whatever in the classes. And then there are some specific stuff. Note making is something that we all widely discuss, how exactly it helps you in retaining information for a long period of time. And then contextual learning is you relate with your own personal life, in your own personal surroundings. If you are reading something about Panchayat Raj institution, that is a topic. If you come from a rural background, understand that there is panchayati, ನಮ್ಮೂರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಪಂಚಾಯತಿ ಇತ್ತು, ಯಾವುದೇ ಥರ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು, ಸರ್ಪಂಚ್ ಒಬ್ಬ ಇದ್ದ. So you try to relate with your own life, it helps you retain the information for a longer period of time. And there's something called white noise. Have you heard of what is white noise? White noise is basically train ಹೋಗೋದು, train moving sound, the sound of a plane, the sound of nature and rain. So all of this, if you listen, science says that it helps you relax and concentrate better, especially in a place where you're sitting and there is a lot of noise around. It's very easy to get distracted. If you listen to them and study, it helps you do better. Trust me, all of this might seem like, ಏನೇನೋ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, but at the end of the day, this might actually help you because you need that edge when you're trying to concentrate in the exam, concentrate while studying. These can act as side aids and help for you. And then binaural beats are something that's similar to white noise, but let's just leave it at white noise. You know what is mnemonics? Mnemonics ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೀರಾ? ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್. ನಿಮೋನಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ದೊಡ್ಡದು ಏನಾದರೂ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ, ಇಫ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಎನಿ ಬಿಗರ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಸ್, ಯು ಟ್ರೈ ಟು ಮೇಕ್ ಇಟ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ಶಾರ್ಟರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ Understand in easier words. Now I have to remember the, factors for freedom movement in India. Why freedom movement happened and how exactly happened. I still have it inside my head. Melt Whisk. MELTWISC. If I remember this, I know that what are the different factors. Militant school of thought, trained leadership, Curzon Bandwarda, so all of that. So these mnemonics help you retain some quality information for a long period of time, and you can try that, all these techniques. And then use social media wisely. Wisely is the word there. You have to use X is a platform which was formerly called Twitter, where you get news snippets of what is happening around the world. This will help you learn things. This is adding on to the newspaper aspect. If you try to read the news at the end of the year or the end of the month only, what happens is that you are trying to put everything inside your brain. You don't know what is the importance of a topic is. They'll write India, Nepal clash, one page bardirtare ashte. But if you read the newspaper, you know that the whole Nepal clash is happening for 1, 2, 3 weeks together. So you know how important that clash is. But somebody who reads only monthly and compilation or yearly end compilation wouldn't know the extent to which that issue is important, right? So X is also something, a platform which will help you in understanding how important the issues are, and it will also help you have this peripheral understanding of issues. Am I making sense so far? Yeah, that's it for today. I've fried your brains enough for today. I'll let you guys sleep with it. I hope this session was helpful to you. If you have any doubts, you can ask me now. ಹೇಳಿ ಇವರೇ. ನಾನು ಇವ್ರನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಕಳಿಸ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಇದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಓಕೆ? ಸೊ if you have any questions, you can ask me right away. I will also be tomorrow here. But based on whatever I taught today, ಇವತ್ತು ಏನೇನು ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾನೋ ನಾನು, ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾದರೂ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ, ಇದು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಬೇರೆ ಏನು ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ರೂ ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನನ್ನನ್ನು ಕೇಳಿ. ಏನಾದರೂ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಇಲ್ಲ ಊಟ ಟೈಮ್ ಆಯಿತಾ? ಪಿ ಜಿದಲ್ಲಿ ಊಟ ಕೊಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡೋಲ್ಲ ಆಮೇಲೆ? ಹೇಳಿ ಅವರೇ, ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಓಕೆ, ನೀವು ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಏನಾದರೂ ಇದ್ದರೆ. At what time is the best to choose the optional subject? When should we? That's a very good question. Even I didn't think of it. At what time should you choose the optional subject? When should you choose the optional subject? I've given you the factors. I've given you what is the criteria to choose the optional subject. But when should you choose? Once you start reading your general studies, they'll start your general NCERT's class start ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ next week ಇಂದ. Just read, just attend those classes. You'll see what interest you have. If you are reading about history, you feel like, you know what, this is something that I think I can read for a long period of time. And then after that, they'll teach polity, different subjects. You see if it connects with you on a personal level. And then ask your mentors here in the academy to see if there are good amount of content available. Then after about 2, 3, 4 months, easily, take your time with it. And then commit on one optional subject. It's almost like finding your life partner. Take your time, try to understand different subjects, and then choose one. Here also you should give yourself good amount of time, okay? That's how you choose optional subject. That was one question. Which textbook and authors buys for their sir? Yeah, so I've given you the recommendations of my textbooks. You can look at various other authors and different coaching institutes and toppers. Whatever they prefer, I want you to check it, but test it through PYQs, test series, topper talks, and everything, all of that. Please send me your number and your Gmail ID. Okay. So if you want my mail, I'll ask the Rajkumar people. I'm pretty sure they'll get you in touch with me in case there is anything. Can you contact with the academy? Okay. Textbooks. Ashtela? Okay. How did you prepare for GS4 ethics? GS4 ethics, I think I'll take a session on it tomorrow as well. After prelims is done, I'll spend some amount of time on it and we'll do that. All right? Sir, time up. Okay, this was 20 minutes ago. We have overshot it by 20 minutes. Not more than that. But thank you for being patient here. I hope you learned something of value today. If any of this helps you somewhere along your journey, I'll be the happiest person. If you have any questions, you can feel free to ask me now, or you can just go ahead with your dinner on the rest of the day. And just a second. The biggest issue is there are a lot of information not knowing which is right or not, how to tackle this issue. Yeah, there is a lot of issue. There's a flood of it. Too many issues. So what you do is that again, give me the answers, everybody. PYQs and test series, topper talks. That's all. That's what it comes down to. How to manage NCERT with ongoing classes. That's a very specific issue. I would suggest if the ongoing classes are, you cannot watch them at a later date, If you have to watch it then and then complete those online classes. Then you can start your NCRT. But for you guys, I think NCRT is being taken from next week. That will be your classes. So I don't think that should be a problem. Which textbooks and authors? I think I've already said that. So yeah. So if you have any questions, I'll take. If not, I'll see you guys tomorrow. You have any questions? Feel free. If you have any questions, feel free. No?
Are only Tamil Nadu textbooks enough for ancient and medieval?
It helped me. For the kind of questions they're asking now, I think that should be adequate. But if the coaching institute people are teaching something, just pay attention to it. Again, what is the answer? What is the answer? POIQs. Yes, POIQs. Huh. Sorry? Interview experience and ನಾಳೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಓಕೆ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಮುಗಿಸ್ಬಿಡೋಣ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಮುಗಿಸ್ಬಿಡೋಣ ದೆನ್ I'll tell you my personal experience after we finish all of this, okay? I'll tell you in detail. Perfect. Anything else?
Just keep yourself in our place that you have no idea of UPSC. Just you prepare, start. Just thought of preparing for UPSC. And you don't have any background, supporting academic background also. So at this moment, what you would have done?
At this point of time, what I would do, I would start with NCRTs. I would pick up history to start with, but I wouldn't spend a lot of time there. I would pick up one single book. The coaching, see, since you are a part of coaching academy, right? You study here, so they are gonna start, history. I want you to follow that for now. I want you to follow what they're teaching. If they're gonna start with history, start with them. Study that. Strengthen your basics. See, right now at this point of time, it doesn't make sense for you to prepare for mains or prelims. The goal here is to understand the concepts. You have to understand the subject as a whole. Whatever you're doing in your college days, you're trying to understand the subjects, right? You weren't looking for previous year questions and all. Last year in Kelidare, that was not your focus. You were just trying to study. For the first few weeks, I suggest you sit and study. What is the academy is teaching? It is after your first circle, once they have finished their classes, or the second circle of when you are starting to revise and everything, then at that point of time, I want you guys to start this PYQ. And then compare, okay? But first round, do what the academy says because that would be ideal for you.
So that will be enough.
That wouldn't be enough. That wouldn't be enough. That is a good start. That would be a good start. And then the spaced repetition and everything that I explained to you, it should ideally be done after your first round. Because first you are very fresh. You have to understand the subject. I've given you only 10 to 15% of what the exam is all about. And of which you will be just absorbing 5%, that's all. But you are going to understand more and more along this journey. This week you have some information. Next week you'll have more information because you'll attend classes. You'll understand what challenges you face. You have to go back home, you sit and study, you come back in the morning. There are different challenges you will face. And then 1 month from now, you will feel different challenges, you will have more information, which you will get. But I want you to remember all these things while you face those challenges. Because so many things that I said now, their significance will come into the picture only at that point of time. Okay? For now, stick to the academy, whatever they are teaching. And then you can follow the spaced repetition pattern or the NCRTs. I think they are teaching you NCRTs. Then you can add the books. For now, they'll teach NCRTs, right? They'll teach NCRTs. Then polity, they'll finish NCRTs. Then you take Lakshmikant book or any other book, you refer to the toppers. Take Lakshmikant book, start reading it completely once. If you have understood it first time, then for the second time, open the previous year question. Open the previous year question. Let's say I'm starting a new chapter called Constitution of India. That's the new chapter. Open the previous year questions book, see Constitution of India, what questions have been asked. Then see, okay, this book here and here they have been asked, so I have to read this more. And then once you're finished reading it this round, next round, spaced repetition, come back and try to recall what you have read. And keep a glance of previous year questions. Previous year questions and this has to go hand in hand. Okay? And more of it you will keep on figuring out throughout this journey. But everything I've written it down here. So in case if you do not remember also, just open this document and I think it should give you a good idea. If you guys need it, I think I can write a holistic guide or something like that if it helps you. But for now, I think the start is good. After that, you can add things, okay? Any other questions?
I need to know that how did you manage your pressurize?
How did I manage when I
As
pressure?
you said, you lost 3 attempts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I need to know that how do you manage your pressure?
See, there are certain personal pressures as well. There might be financial pressure for a lot of people. There might be family pressure as well that you're not clearing. But I think I was lucky enough that my parents were quite supportive in this journey. They're like, it's okay, read anta ondo. Other than that, I think I had just had this confidence. One more place is that if you just keep on studying, it puts you in a very depressive mode. You need to have some other thing going on in your life. Go for a run or engage in some other activities. You need to give yourself those 2 hours of your day to do other things in life that matters to you. This UPSC is not the end game of your life. So you need to replenish your energy on a day-to-day basis. That is something that keeps you going. I used to go to the gym regularly. I used to cycle long distances. I used to run. I used to climb. I used to not do this every day. I used to do this once in a week or once in 2 weeks. Keep myself energized. I used to listen to songs. So this sort of keeps you alive somewhere. You can handle the pressure is what I feel. But yeah, everybody has their own pressures. Some person might have very big pressure and some other might have very small pressures, but to his own, those will be bigger pressures. So yeah, but those things should help you. Invest in what you like the most and try to do them more often beyond this exam. That is what I'll suggest. Yeah, over the course of time. Family pressure, yeah, that can be very strong and hard. But I think talking to your parents is the only way about it. I don't think that is something that we can escape. Yeah, that's that. Anything else? Yeah.
So what would you suggest for the working candidates, like who are working also or preparing?
So working candidates, I think, as I said, it comes down to those last 4 things of exam. Understanding what the demand of the question is for mains. And see, you have to reverse engineer a lot of things. What is reverse engineering? Do you guys know what is reverse engineering? Reverse engineering is basically you see a product and then you try to see how can I make this product. I remove this part, then I remove this part, then I remove this part, then I see how this was made and then I start making the product. So in our UPSC preparation, this is equivalent to I see what are the different questions that is asked in the exam, how I can answer these exams, what are the source I need to study. So that is what will be more relevant for you. If your exam is like 9 to 5, then, if your work is 9 to 5, where you get only 3-4 hours at the end of the day, then everything remains the same. It's just that you might take a longer period of time to clear this exam, 2 years or so. It is still doable. A lot of people have done that. It comes down to learning those mistakes quickly. I don't think there has to be any specific strategy also, and I don't think I would be of a lot of help to you on this front because I used to give complete time throughout the day. But there are a good chunk of people, even with their job, have cleared this exam. If I can talk to any of them today, I will talk to them and get back to you tomorrow on how exactly they went about it. If I'm not able to do that, I'll look into toppers who have done and I'll provide the videos for you, alright, so that you have an informed strategy. And I don't think I'm the right person to help you on that, okay? Something of help today? Something of value? Learned something? Okay, good. So you guys can leave now whenever you're ready and I'll see you guys tomorrow at the same time, 5 o'clock, okay? Perfect. Thank you.